All right. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Camera is fixed.
Morning.
Jimmy, put me in the show. All right. Good morning, everybody. This is April.
Welcome to your show.
Yes.
This is also April Fool's Day. So head on a swivel, especially when it comes to those radio guys.
Yeah.
Those radio guys are the worst when it comes to pranks. But you know what is really worse, like about April Fool's Day?
What is the worst about April Fool's Day?
There's this thing called
Bills?
X.
Oh.
Bills?
Oh.
Don't bills just come on May 1st?
Yeah.
May Day? Yes.
Yeah.
New Year's Day?
Yeah.
Did you take April Fool's Day growing up really seriously? Like, was that? No, this is an honest question. Like,
Like go
growing
to
up,
church or
no, like, did you
Like,
prank people?
We
Or,
Catholics
did
in
you
South
prank,
Texas.
prank your family? Like, did you?
no, May Day
Okay.
was bigger because you got baskets and candy.
Right.
Okay.
He's explained that to me. We didn't
Yes.
have that.
I
so-
didn't have that either. We did have
May Day was a villain. In
April
a Bond
Fool's
movie.
though. April Fool's was like a family holiday for us. Like
A family holiday.
we would all kind
Much
of
like Christmas is in mine.
like do things. Like my dad would like tell us like some bad news and then like play it out for a very long period of the day when we were younger. I would like
Can you believe we're
one
adopted?
time, this is the classic story. My dad for his entire life has had certain clothes in certain drawers, right?
Mhm.
He wakes up, the underwear is here, the socks are here, the shirts are here, whatever. One April Fool's Day, my brother in the middle of the night switched the order of all the clothes in my dad's
Wow.
drawers. And so he was
That'll
almost
show him.
he almost missed the train on his way to work because he didn't know where anything was. And he was so mad at the first part,
Yeah.
he was so pissed. And then when he got home, he was like, that's a good one. That was a really
Smoking
good
a
one.
cigar
he
on
thought
the
it was
porch with a
impressive.
glass of
your
whiskey.
dad is
So-
very regimented.
Oh, he was mad. Or he was like because he's very particular.
Yeah.
He's got his things. Things go here. Like when we do his laundry or we pick up his laundry or anything like that, when we do chores, there are certain things that go in certain places. And my brother is the first and only person and only time to ever mess with it. And it was awesome. It was
It's
incredible.
a 10-yard comeback route. You don't run at 8. You don't run at 12. You run at 10.
I said
when you
cut!
turn.
Not the flat.
Today is radio guys usually get in trouble. There's either locally or nationally someone will be a knucklehead on radio and
Sure.
they'll do a prank and it'll cross the line and
I
they'll
thought
get
that was
fired.
yesterday.
Hey,
We'll
we'll
get
get
into that.
Whoa.
Jeez.
We'll get to that. Well, his career is over. I ain't kidding. But on X, so it's one of those days you got to be careful. Got to have your head on a swivel. You can't
Yeah.
believe everything you read.
No.
Most of the time, you can't believe everything you read, especially if it comes from Bigalow, who has deleted his account.
Yeah, I've just looked that up and I did not find it. I looked it up
Yeah.
this morning. It is gone.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately, I wanted to look up the rest of the tweets and like just to reference them or whatever. They're not there.
What has
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah, well, there's a lot that's happened. We'll get to that in a
That-
breakdown
That
of
might be a whole segment.
that yesterday. But when you have X on April Fool's Day and the way that X is currently, you'd have no idea what's going to go on. But here's the
Yeah.
even worse thing is the portal is open for college basketball and some other sports. So you have no idea what to believe. Like Hunter
Oh, my
Dickinson getting
God.
a 7th year. You might say, really? Man, that sucks for KU. He's going the Perry Ellis route. That's an April
What
Fool's.
if he's going
on
to
Twitter.
Creighton? Mhm.
But I'm looking forward to the national radio guy that gets in trouble and goes
Yeah.
too far and then gets fired.
Is there one that pops in your head?
That's getting
off
fired?
the top of your head that has done that before in April Fools?
There've been wasn't Opie and Andy?
Yeah.
I think they got in
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah.
We did a great April Fool's Day prank back in the day at
Is-
Broadcast House.
Is it even really a how? Like, do people even do anything anymore for that? Like, I feel like it's just kind of like now it's half-assed. Like, I feel like back in the day, like
Tempting fate.
there might have been an actual effort to do April
Well, I
Fool's
think more
stuff.
people are sensitive these days. People get
Yeah.
their feelings hurt pretty quick.
Hey, but I didn't mean it. It's not serious. It's not serious, guys. This is a forum to joke around.
And I think you don't want to be canceled.
No,
You don't want to be bigs. You don't want to get canceled.
there are some people though. Man, I
Damn,
wish
Nebraska won in the Crown last night, and he deleted his Twitter.
I'm not. That's a good point. I'm not one of these people, but there are some people out there who can't be canceled. Like Bill Burr can't be canceled. There are there's certain
I'm not
comedians
touching
like
any of this.
I feel like Shane Gillis can't be canceled.
Mhm.
I would love to be one of those people who just is like immune from being canceled and does not care. But it's weird
Should go into
how we
politics.
decide who can and can't be canceled because you'd think like Kevin Hart would be unable to be canceled. No, he can be canceled very, very easily. It's happened to him like twice.
I think you can be canceled and come back. So there's hope for Jacob Bigalow.
Oh, yeah. After Louis C.K. pulled it off, anybody can come back.
Yeah,
Wow,
there's
he
like-
just come back.
there's like
Compare
some-
Jacob to Louis C.K.
No.
There's some people. Yeah, that's a little bit.
No,
Whoa.
well, I did not compare the two. I just said if Louis C.K. can
Jacob
come
got
back
some
from being canceled.
skeletons in his closet.
No, not that I'm aware
He likes
of.
the closet. What's going on here?
I have no clue.
What do
No,
you
I did
just-
not compare the two.
You just compared your
I did not
friend
compare the
to-
two.
Wow.
I did not compare the two. I said that if Louis C.K. can come back from being canceled, Jacob Bigalow can come back from being canceled, because what those two guys did in comparison are very, very far apart.
I mean, Biggs had the torpedo bat and went 1 for 7. I mean,
Yeah.
and now you got him. Now you got him with Louis C.K.
No, I did not put
Wow.
him in the same closet.
Funny guy.
Right? They're not closet
not
buddies.
even close. Wow, why you got to do that to your friend?
I didn't. I'm not doing anything to my friend.
I told you
you
to
just-
invite him over for basketball last night.
I
You know
know.
this.
I
So-
had multiple people who were texting me who were almost insinuating like
Go
it was
pick
my
him
fault
up.
that this happened.
Go get him.
I got some thoughts on this
Yeah.
that got just got sideways too quick.
So quick.
But when back in the day at Broadcast House, Bishop and I did
Yes.
a mascot parade at the old Edward track on April Fool's Day, and we had people driving down to see it. We had all the mascots from the Big 8 and Big 12 days
Nice.
that were in a parade at Edward track, and we were doing the play-by-play with sound effects. We were outside of Broadcast
That's
House, so it
awesome.
sounded like we were like at the Edward track. We had people showing up. We also,
This is
back in the
great.
day, the late Dan the Weatherman, who, if you know, you know, if you followed KLIN back then, he, which was really, he was just full-time weather guy. That's all I did was Dan the
That's
Weatherman.
incredible.
Great guy. He's since passed away. He did their morning show. I was never on the morning show there. They did the stealth bomber flyover in Lincoln, and they had Dan the Weatherman out doing play-by-play of it. And so people thought it was.
Like the Great
And
Turkey Drop.
then by about 10 o'clock, they revealed that it was April Fool's Day. If you didn't catch on, people were irate. People were calling the radio station. They demanded that Dan the Weatherman get fired.
Wow.
Greg Jackson was the news guy, and they're like, I can't, I usually take you guys serious, and I can't take you serious anymore. You pulled this stuff. I want firings. Like the Warners owned the building at the time, owned the company. Oh, they got so many irate messages. Like Dan the Weatherman, though, did not get canceled.
Because he said that he was doing play-by-play of a stealth bomber
Well,
that wasn't
people-
there.
It was a news station. People like Kent and Gary, when they were back on KFAB in the late 90s, they pulled a prank about the Omaha City Council that got people pretty fired up.
Wow.
Like people turn to news stations and
Sure.
they're reputable and they don't expect that nonsense on April Fool's Day. And so, people that take their KLIN seriously, they were irate.
I kind of love that. I kind of love that people got mad, and I kind of love that they did that on a news station too. I mean, if anything, that would motivate me more to do something on April Fool's. Like, wouldn't that be a good bit every April 1st that you kind of knew that KLIN wasn't going to, or your news station wasn't going to be taken seriously for at least like 3 hours?
Go
Like,
on.
we got to
Oh,
lighten up a little
Well,
bit.
they don't do it anymore because unfortunately they don't publish every day. But one of the things to look forward to was the Daily Nebraska in Lincoln. They would do a April Fool's.
We did that
Yeah.
in high school.
Yeah.
Now, they got canceled on doing their April Fool's edition because they printed the unedited version of Scott Baldwin when he got arrested, the late Scott Baldwin.
Oh, okay.
If you know, you know there in that case.
Sure.
But they would always do a farce April Fool's Day edition, and not everybody would catch on, but they would go hard after athletes.
Wow.
And it was amusing in some cases and was uncomfortable in others to read it.
Tommy Frazier switching to basketball?
It would be like one of the most popular editions that the Daily Nebraskan would put out. I think they ended it maybe 15, 20 years ago because they went a little too far.
Sure.
Yeah.
It sounds like they were Barstool a little bit before Barstool became
Yeah,
popular.
for one day.
Yeah,
was a
for
simpler
one day
time.
they were there, and then no one liked it, and then
We
they
played
had to get away
outside.
from that. I don't know. Bring back being allowed to be canceled for one day. I feel like
You'd be
everybody
canceled every
everybody
day.
should get one day. We get one day where you're allowed to get canceled,
Well, I
and
think
then we
there's
erase it from our minds.
That's
we
Festivus.
forget about it. Hey, it never happened.
I think there's a level of being canceled.
Oh, there
I
are
mean-
definitely levels to being canceled.
I mean, if you do it with your mouth or your hands, I mean, it's,
Yes.
sometimes you deserve to be canceled.
Or there definitely should be like tiers of what gets you canceled and how long it gets you canceled for. Like, I feel like the minimum amount of cancelment is like 6 months. I've never seen
Mhm.
anybody be uncanceled in less than 6 months.
So happy April Fool's Day,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Head on a swivel.
Happy canceled day.
Be be very aware of your surroundings
Just going
and
back
what's
to
going
bed.
on out there.
Turning
And
off my
also
phone.
anything that is said on this show. It may be true. It may not be true. But you know
decide.
what? Hey, you know what is true? Hey, I had fun last night.
Hey, we did.
You know why I had fun last night? Because Husker Twitter, God bless you all. You know what? You handled the crown appropriately.
It was better than the game.
There was some great humor last night. There was humor surrounding basketball, and then we all consumed the crown like we should. It's a basketball game. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, but it was fun to watch, and it was fun to have fun with, and Nebraska was able to pull it off in the second half, and now they've got a showdown with Georgetown at 8:30 on Wednesday night. Two teams that are a combined 7 games above 500. It feels like a late True TV Wednesday night play-in game in Dayton, and I'm all here for it. So good for everybody. You followed the assignment. We all had humor last night. We enjoyed it. You know what? Now we can move on. We get a day off, and then we'll all be back together on Wednesday to have more humor watching the Crown.
Have I told you that Carolina and Kansas and Kentucky would all be sitting at home and Nebraska and Georgetown would be playing basketball in April? Your reaction would be, holy crap.
Oh, I can't wait. My reaction is I can't wait for the Final Four because men and women with 7 of the top 8 number 1 seeds going to be a banger.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the pickup basketball last night. For two teams that had 2 to 3 weeks off, I was enjoying just the chaos that was going on.
What happens when you can't afford the sphere?
I watched the first half. I was watching the first half of the game, and they were kicking the ball around, and they were traveling 4 or 5 times, and the offense was sloppy, and they threw the ball out of bounds, and people were missing passes. And I was sitting there, and I go, I don't know why I was expecting anything different.
You were like all of us. You took the game more serious.
I was excited for it. I didn't have a watch party. I did find myself getting slightly annoyed after they traveled for the 5th time of the game. I did get a little twinge of like, why are you doing that?
3 weeks off to begin the game showed a little bit there.
Yeah, a little bit might be an understatement. I mean, it was very clear that they hadn't played in a while.
Then there were some that were very usual, like, in the first half, you can't make layups, which is a Nebraska thing over many, many years.
They were, I believe, 2 of 16 or 3 of 16 from the front of the rim to begin the game, which is absolutely ridiculous. But then at the same time, like a lot of these things that were happening in the first half, I had to remind myself that they were doing it mid-season as well. This wasn't necessarily they haven't played in a while thing. Even when they were playing every 4 days, they were still doing all the things that they were doing. So there were multiple times that I had to remind myself that it was like a real but fake basketball game.
So like Fox is forcing this on you, like they're forced enthusiasm.
Yes.
Was it forced enthusiasm last night for the fan to watch that game? Not for me on Bryce Williams, because I can watch Bryce Williams every day that ends in Y, and he had a 30-burger. He brought Mr. Asijan and Jacobson along, but I'm here for Bryce. But it is very forced.
It is.
I mean, they force the gigantic midcourt logo on you. They just kind of they force it, and I'll tell you what. One thing. So I stayed up because the Cubs and the A's were playing, so I was watching on the other screen.
The baby ballpark.
Georgetown and Washington State, which Georgetown, by the way, came back and won that game. Is that tournament is so happy that Nebraska won because the fans outside of the Utah Screamer,
I saw that was
Nick
funny.
Interviewed. They had Nebraska fans there who were making noise, so they get lucky that Nebraska is still alive. But it just the whole thing. And I think there's a future for a tournament like this. The whole thing does seem forced by Fox.
It was really funny. So I was watching the George Washington Boise State game. Okay. During that game, there were 0 crowd shots.
Wow.
Like 0. Like they did not
loyal.
pan into the crowd or like, they had the cheerleader shots or whatever, but they did not go to the crowd. It was funny during the Nebraska game. There were a couple crowd shots that they were able to pan to. And like, you're totally right. Like the fact that they had to like limit the broadcast to the point where it's like, dude, there's nobody here. Like we cannot like pan out wide or anything like that or really do like we just have to show the announcers, the cheerleaders, and the guys that are playing because no one else is here. But I think that Kevin Kugler and Robbie Hummel are incredible professionals. Like I don't think
it's tough broadcast to do when there's no crowd involvement because as
or
a broadcaster,
COVID trained us for this.
Jimmy, you'd know this as a fellow broadcaster. you feed off the crowd.
Yes.
Like, so that's
This is
not
why
the-
I like going to Hilton
Yeah.
all the time to do a game, because you'd sell out the place.
It's not the easiest assignment, but I'm glad that Fox has like their A teams that are on this, and they treat it like their NCAA tournament. But man, if I don't like peas, don't shove them down my throat. Okay, that's kind of how I looked at it. I just
They're
want
actually bad
I
for your
want to
blood
enjoy
sugar.
a team I have interest in, and I also want to enjoy this. Here's one thing that I'm very serious about this crown, is it does give you the opportunity to play teams that you normally wouldn't play.
Yes.
So Nebraska and Arizona State really don't play very often, and now we get Nebraska-Georgetown on Wednesday night that have never played. So that's a benefit of this. But again, I'm happy. Everybody treated it perfectly. There were no overreaction shows. There were no sweeping generalizations of, if this team was in the NCAA tournament, boy, they would have won a game. We just consumed it like it should be consumed, and we get one more day at least to consume Nebraska basketball before we get deep into the portal.
I like that it was taken professionally, and I like that,
They pay them
the
well.
announcers cared and the analysts cared. At the same time, don't tell me that the chicken S is chicken salad. Like, don't tell me that it's important. Don't tell me that this is great. Don't tell me that, oh my God, to win the crown is incredible. At the same time, though, it was basketball. It was my team. Like you said, it was fun. I'm glad I saw them win.
It was
if they had
exercise.
lost, I wouldn't have gone to bed that mad or anything like that. Or
you know who went
PO'd.
you know who went to bed mad?
Bobby Hurley.
Nah, he's getting paid.
By the way, why was he wearing a Arizona State football quarter zip?
I don't know. It was a weird.
He's on the Kenny Dillingham train too.
He just looked different yesterday. He just didn't.
He didn't care.
Yeah,
He didn't care.
he just.
I mean, unfortunately, Nebraska played Iowa and Arizona State back to back, and there were no T's on Fran or Bobby Hurley. But you know who went to bed angry last night?
Not me.
Those fans that had Nebraska 6.5.
Oh,
Ballistic.
Lord.
Yeah, just a little bit of a late shot may have changed some people's fortunes.
Can I be honest with you? All right,
You should always
I'm
be
not going
honest
to
with
act
us.
as if I'm not a gambler or anything like that, but to gamble the crown at 7:30
It's in Vegas.
on a Monday.
Hey, if
to
you
be
win, it's still
sweating
money.
out-
Good teams win, great teams cover, and it means more in Vegas.
I mean,
That's the takeaway from last night.
you got the MLB on. You have like women's basketball that's playing in the NCAA tournament.
By the way,
You're-
UConn 13.5. Safe.
Yeah,
Safe. Thank you very much.
They win. Good.
I mean, people, the crown. We're gambling on the crown. We're sweating the crown. I mean, even I'm above that. I mean, look, I
we
bet
can gamble
NFL
on
preseason,
T-ball.
so maybe I shouldn't act as if I'm all high and mighty. But the crown in Vegas, which is some glorified NIL tournament, is to really like bet a lot of money during that and be holding on to your purse strings, being like, oh my God, I hope they don't make the shot here. That is crazy. That is crazy. That's even a level that
A
I
win's a
wouldn't even
win.
stoop down to.
I like money.
Nebraska will be a favorite on Wednesday night
Mhm.
against Georgetown.
I'll
Yeah,
play it.
safe to say they won't be on my board.
On the board, a little bit later in the show, Sam McEwen will stop by, Brian Christopherson, Andy Kendi. It's the lineup brought to you by the rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. All right, let's address the just complete debacle yesterday
Giant
that
elephant
happened
in the
after
room.
Jacob Bigalow was on this show. So Jacob had some pent-up anger and some
Yes.
energy and just let it rip on our show. At times it was humorous. At times for me it was uncomfortable.
You too, huh?
Yeah. And then I thought, okay, it would be over because Jacob's got a day job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's working.
Monday.
He stopped working to jump on with us. And and
Apparently
if
he
you
stopped
know
working.
if you know Jacob, there's a lot of his life that he doesn't give an F. Okay. And he doesn't take a lot of things serious. And that platform is not a place to try and have some sarcasm or jokey. And it went from what could have been like some comedy to very personal attacks to very serious to people
Yeah.
jumping into the conversation, not maybe knowing Jacob.
Not knowing the bit.
And
at
that
all.
thing got sideways so quickly. And
So-
when Daddy needs a touchdown, I was like, man, break the internet in Nebraska. So I don't know what happens from this. I mean, I think probably
I smell a podcast.
I don't
Daddy
know.
needs a
think,
touchdown. Hmm.
I think
Those two.
I think it was okay.
it was because I know all the parties involved.
Yeah,
It was so funny
so funny.
because one was being funny, The others were being serious. And then you were picking sides.
A fake fight.
Jacob is still welcome on our show. I know that he has bowed out of his appearance on Happer's show today. I don't know what Jacob wants to do, but Jacob has deleted his Twitter account. Now, that was going to happen because he was looking for a cleanse when the basketball season was over.
And he got it.
But my God, he lit a match and then walked away, and the thing is still burning. So you know what? In tribute to Jacob, we're going to talk a lot about spring football today.
Yeah, we're going to really dive deep into it.
It's what the people want.
Hey, the daddy needs a touchdown. Fans need some content. Let's go.
The beginning of the tweet, like when the tweets first started, and like you have to understand that in you two, like I'm very good friends with Jacob. Jacob and I go out together. We have some drinks. Like a lot of the things that were tweeted out yesterday aren't things that I haven't in some capacity heard before, right? Like there is a little, because he loves basketball. And sometimes I feel like he doesn't believe that basketball gets enough attention and that football, despite the fact that they may not have won a lot, gets too much attention. So the first couple of tweets, right, about the coverage of football, nothing out of the norm. Hey, he doesn't like that it gets covered a lot. It's March. We should focus more on basketball, this, that, or the other. But then when certain people that maybe he doesn't already like got involved, that was something. And then when I read the grown man saying, "Daddy needs a touchdown," I almost lost it. I was dying when I read that. And I had taken and this is full transparency. Yesterday I was tired. I went home. I took a nap.
It's okay. Goes with the shift.
So I wake up at like 2:00, like when I get home.
Refreshed.
I have multiple texts from either people that are here, people that like listen to the show who are like, "Yo, what is Bigalow on?" There is a whole group chat of my friends who were discussing the Jacob Bigalow discourse that was happening on Twitter. I had no idea what occurred until I hopped back on Twitter and consumed all of it at once. It was something. I think Daddy Needs a Touchdown should become shirts.
Or a fantasy football team.
That's incredible.
Zone t-shirt, Gary and Matt t-shirt,
See,
Daddy Needs a Touchdown.
It's tough, like when you're serious, to battle somebody in that forum that doesn't give an F.
Yeah.
And they're trying to be funny, but then it's all about personal attacks. Again, I don't know what happens to Jacob. It wasn't a good day yesterday for multiple people. It was kind of funny.
It was so funny.
I have to admit it was kind of funny.
So funny.
But I mean, there'll probably be some fallout here. Iowa JD says,
like Chernobyl, there was fallout there.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I don't know.
I don't know if we should compare those two events.
Ask Jacob.
I wish Jacob would not have deleted his Twitter account.
I see. There's two things that he did that I'll critique him here. There are two things that he did that I don't think he should have done. Number one is that he went on the Twitter is just a joke type deal. Yeah. Don't take it seriously. I would have just taken it on the chin. I would have been like, no, this is who I am. Because if you read the comments, there were some people who were like, "F yeah, Jacob. Like, I love you." There were some real people who were like, "I kind of feel sort of a similar way. This is awesome." That's the first mistake you made. The second mistake you made was deleting the Twitter. I kind of wanted to reread the tweets.
I kind of want to hear his thoughts last night as Kale Jacobson was eating up Aaron Eulis minutes last night. Like, I was kind of looking for that. Iowa JD says, "Well, the morning show gets people canceled."
Whoa! We did not.
What did we do?
We got a history here.
Okay. Well,
who speak the truth? Scott Shanley speaks the truth no more. Now Bigalow.
Scott Shanley and Bigalow together.
The whole Scott Shanley thing. Scott Shanley ghosted us. We did not cancel him.
He seriously told me, going with the family to Hawaii for a week. I'll get back at you next week. I said, have a safe trip. We'll talk to you when you're back. And we're still waiting.
And I
liked him.
So
maybe he's still in Hawaii.
So I texted him. This is about a year ago because he hasn't been on for about 2 years.
It's a great segment every week.
I texted him about a year ago and I said, "Hey, you and I go way back. What's up?" And he said, "Hey, I just got some things going on." I was like, "Cool." And that was it. So we didn't cancel him. I think he turned down the temperature and, moved on to other things.
Yeah. Well,
we're not going to cancel Bigalow. I'm
not going to cancel Bigalow.
I'm more than welcome. Even Jacob said yesterday, he goes, if you guys need to suspend me, go ahead and suspend me. And I said, no.
For what?
I would like you to come on our show and take another beating.
If anything, I'm actually looking more forward to having Jacob Bigalow on the show next Monday. It might be our highest viewed segment. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people who are clamoring to listen to that. I wonder what he'll do.
If that's the premise you're going off of, you got to tell him, do not respond to anybody until Monday.
Oh, okay. I think we'll do that. I mean, I'll give him the option.
I can get some promos cut.
Did the afternoon show, which he went hard after on our show?
Matt, you listen.
Did they ever get involved in it?
Well, so Michael Severe, who was one of the
Mondays with Michael.
Really
good segment.
So it is a very good segment. So for people who don't know on Twitter, we'll just say
after
it
the
because
Super
it's out
Bowl
there.
too.
So the whole "Daddy needs a touchdown" thing wasn't referenced to Michael Severe, and so Michael and Jacob, were tweeting at each other on Twitter, and then Michael had a scheduled appearance on the afternoon show.
Oh, no.
So he came on the show, and Michael was very wasn't offended by it at all. It was just very jokingly about it. Thought it was really, really funny. They talked about making Daddy Needs a Touchdown, potentially a segment on Severe Reaction.
It's a great idea.
I think, dude, if
they
make
cahoots.
Daddy Needs, because I'm a gambler, all right? And I'm going to be honest with you.
People forget.
Probably have said Daddy Needs a 3 or Daddy Needs something, just in just reference to me needing to hit a bet. So if he made a Daddy Needs a Touchdown shirt, I would probably buy it. I think it's absolutely hysterical.
I've heard it.
Severe, me too, yeah.
Severe sits in front of me at the games, and so I've heard him say that before. So it actually is really, really funny. But you know what?
Sometimes you need a touchdown.
We have given more publicity to Jacob Bigalow. I mean, he's if he does this right, he can milk this. Now I don't know what it'll do for his future of covering Nebraska football. It would be great though if he was down in Lincoln today.
That'd be awesome.
Sitting front row,
asking 4 questions, really milking the content out for spring football.
So Jacob has deleted his account. You really can't. You can't go back unless there's screenshots, and there are screenshots out there of his responses. But what a day! What a day yesterday.
Good Monday.
Hey, let's have a day on April 1st.
Hey, did you see what Coach BA said in the chat? He goes, "Daddy Needs a Touchdown will officially be on my play call sheet in the fall."
It's like the new Philly. Tom and Jerry, corn dog. Daddy needs a touchdown.
Like BA's special 2-point conversion play is Daddy needs a touchdown.
We're running Daddy.
His quarterback walks up to him and goes, "You want to call Daddy Needs a Touchdown?
Do it."
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yesterday was a good day.
We cancel people. We bring people together.
That was awesome.
Yesterday was a good day.
It was.
Yesterday was a good day.
That was funny.
I'm not sure if Jacob will ever recover, but that's okay. You know what? Jacob's got people on his side.
Yeah.
Once again, his biggest mistake was trying to do the whole Twitter's just a joke. He shouldn't have done that. Yeah. He should have just been, because I know Bigalow. I know that's how Bigalow is. A lot of people know that's how Bigalow is. The people who needed, who support him the most understand that that's just Jacob being Jacob. I just feel like it was just a mistake. He shouldn't have copped out like that. He should have just kept it going.
He can cop back in.
Most
people haven't awakened yet to see.
He restarts his Twitter. The first thing he tweets out is, "Twitter isn't a joke. I meant absolutely everything I said. I was totally serious."
What he needs to tweet out, because I'll guilt him into coming back today, is
at least you're honest.
We need an Undertaker. We're coming out of the coffin. Yeah. That's the first tweet that he should have. Before the show's over, I will guilt him into coming back on Twitter.
The caption should be, it should be the Undertaker meme, and the caption should be, "Daddy's back.
And I'm looking for a touchdown." All right, busy show, lots to discuss. We will talk about Nebraska winning last night against Arizona State. There was some good in there, and there will be more basketball. Nebraska and Georgetown will play on Wednesday night. Georgetown had a limited roster last night. Guys went out on the strip. Did they drink or eat?
Probably both.
But they had a limited roster, and they won.
Great food options.
They actually looked really good in their comeback against Washington State. So Nebraska and Georgetown play in the next round of the Crown. Plus, we're going to talk Nebraska football, Bigalow.
Sorry.
So that'll be, I'll give you a heads up on, what segment we're going to talk
the
football.
Punting room. Who will be doing it this year? Who could challenge?
From 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, all football.
7 of the 8 spots in the men's and women's Final Four set. Number 2, UConn is the outlier. Everybody else is the number 1 seed.
It's kind of weird.
All right, we're off and running. Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Hey, good luck to our friends over at the Storm Chasers. Tonight they have their home opener out at Werner Park.
Yeah.
They take on the Bats of Louisville. Noah Cameron, who should be pitching at the K in the starting rotation before long, starting tonight on the bump. Well worth the price of admission, of course, opening night. And we got to play speed-up baseball because it looks like the weather will not enter the Omaha area until little bit after 8. First pitch out there is 6:35.
They should do 2 o'clock.
Well,
Beautiful day.
Nebraska-Creighton, good on them because they wanted to get the game in. They moved their game up to 2:30, but good luck to our friends of the Storm Chasers. 57 straight year they've been an affiliate of the Kansas City Royals.
That's awesome.
And this year
Hope it works out.
This year they have new ownership. Diamond Baseball Holdings is the new owner. I don't think you'll see anything different. You won't even recognize it. It's still the fun family entertainment out at Warner Park.
Marty's still there?
Marty is still there.
That's all that matters. All is well.
Yeah, we need to make sure that Marty remains there.
Yeah.
Now, so have fun out there. If you're going out there tonight, they open up a 6-game homestand against the Louisville Bats. But good on Nebraska and Creighton.
Yes.
Because the weather now, the forecast kept pushing back the storms. So, if they were going to play originally at 6. So, you get 5-6 innings in, and then you have to wait for a rain delay. Mm-hmm. So moving it up to 2:30, good on both sides because they definitely want to get the game in.
Sure.
Because it doesn't look like there's a lot of holes in the schedule to make up that game. And it's Nebraska-Creighton.
Yeah.
Nebraska's doing something that Purdue would not do. Make sure that you can play with the weather.
Yeah.
The only problem is, so it's not on TV, right?
No, it doesn't. It's on Big Ten Plus.
Okay. So that's one of the drawbacks. Plus, people that were planning on going to the game that work during the day will not be there. But you know what? So my opinion, it's a must-win game for Nebraska. You know what's going to make it even better?
What's going to make it even better?
So there probably will not be as many people at Haymarket Park as there, normally is.
Sure.
So I think this is a top step of the dugout. A lot of chirping, bat flips that are thrown out of Haymarket Park into Bowling Stadium. I think the advantage of a 2:30 Nebraska-Creighton game with less people in the stands, but there will be people that will show up.
There will be people show up, and I think go ahead.
There'll be a lot of chirping that'll go on, and you'll be able to hear the chirping, which will be fantastic for Nebraska-Creighton.
It will be. And I also too like
Pistons T-Wolves.
I just think it's really great across sports with Creighton and Nebraska when you kind of get to amp up that rivalry a little bit because it's one of those things where you amp up a rivalry in one sport, you kind of amp up the rivalry in all the sports because of the tension between the two fan bases and the fact that the proximity of the schools and then you have the whole J-Sker thing and everything like that. As it continues to ramp up and as these two teams get to play each other more just across all sports and there's more emotion, it just makes every matchup a little bit better, which I'm all a fan for. I will say this though, 2:30 on a Tuesday.
I don't think you have J-Skers, by the way, in baseball.
I think the whole J-Sker conversation, first off, is just an incredible sociological conversation. It is a work of sociology in terms of who you can and who you can't root for.
It'll be my biggest takeaway from here,
right? But I don't know, some people would just consider J-Sker as anyone who roots for Nebraska football and then just happens to root for any sort of Creighton sport. So I think that'll always just have an underlying meaning when any of these teams play in any of these sports. But 2:30 on a Tuesday, and if the weather's okay, this would be kind of a classic hey, let's go and skip class and watch these two teams play baseball.
Skip class anyway.
Who's having class after 2:30 on a Tuesday?
Exactly. I think this would be a really. I think you might get some students out there, and when I mean might get some students, my friends and I would definitely be out there for that game.
Is the Tuesday classes Thursday still the long?
An hour and 20.
Classes?
Those are the hour 20, hour 25 classes. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are typically your shorter classes.
You already know all the stuff by this point in school. If you don't know it, you're never going to know it anyway, so you're good.
I got about a month of school left.
I think
Can you read, write,
around
math?
this time would
you're set. Color between the lines.
I didn't go to Nebraska to play school. Okay,
this time actually,
I went to Nebraska to get fat, dumb, and stupid.
Hell yes.
I
accomplished all three.
I accomplished all three, but I didn't mean to go there for that. I meant to get smart, and then those.
If I'd met you 25 years ago, you would have steered me to Lincoln.
This actually is the test week. Typically this week, this is my birthday week. Typically my birthday week doesn't include a lot of tests over the last 4 years when I went there. I never had any big exams or anything like that. So I was always just allowed to party and get drunk and have a good time. And then next week I'd be paying for it because I'd be incredibly behind on my studying. So once again, April 1st, Tuesday, 2:30, you're probably out at 12 o'clock. Go and take a shower, grab a beer, go to Haymarket Park, have a good time, see two teams who are actually playing some pretty good baseball right now. Play each other. Should be good.
So it's a must-win for Nebraska, especially after the weekend that they had and people are wanting to buy in. They don't leave the state all week. They play here in Omaha tomorrow night at 6 over at Tal Anderson. We'll see you there. And then they come home for Rutgers. Here's the thing. Like the Creighton game after you win a series against the fifth best team in the country, according to the polls, is Creighton comes along at the perfect time.
Yeah. Because
if you lollygag today, because that's a good Creighton team, who I saw last week in a midweek game against Omaha, and I'm impressed. They might be having one of those special goodbye Ed service types years. They're older. They're a good team. Kuzman, they're pitching today. They moved into the midweek. He's a lot more comfortable there. He has the ability to shove. But it is Creighton, and Creighton has owned Nebraska. They have won 10 of the last 12, and 8 of those have been by 1 run or 2, and it always seems like it's a collapse, and you face palm, and when you leave the ballpark, you have your palm permanently indented on your forehead. But if you get up and you feel good about what you just did, Creighton comes along at the perfect time, because you know why? Because it's Creighton. Okay, a lot of the guys on each side know each other. Nebraska's got a guy that was a starter last year for Creighton that transferred. That's a catcher. But what I will look for today, and I think this is going to be fun, I'm going to try and pull off the doubleheader of Nebraska-Creighton baseball, and then I've got the Storm Chasers tonight.
Yeah.
That's
a good day.
There better be, for Nebraska, I mean, bat flips. Like Ty Stone better bat flip all the way to the ice center, the Breslow Ice Center. Like I hope that both sides are chirping at each other. Like there are hard slides at second base. After a strikeout, we let batters pimp home runs like a Ty Stone bat flip. We need pitchers pimping strikeouts and be okay with it, because this is what this rivalry should be. And if Nebraska doesn't have some attitude and some swag, and they're not loud, and they're not like Will Bolt Edge, where Will is pointing across and go, Kingston, it's you next year, but I'm dealing with service right now, I'm going to be sorely disappointed. I hope this game is just sideways like the Bigalow Severe Sherman conversation yesterday. And it just turns into really good baseball, but high energy. We don't care if it's 2:30. It's Nebraska-Creighton. If that doesn't come from Nebraska's side, because I definitely know it'll come from Creighton's side. If it doesn't come from Nebraska's side, I'm out, and you're going to get 4 hours of spring football from here until the end of April.
Look, they've been this team once in the last 5 years.
You heard them. Better win.
Once in the last 5 years. And they, this is a team that, for all intents and purposes, Big Ten baseball is better than, the Big East Conference in baseball. And it's like you think or you believe that you should handily be beating this team, and you haven't been able to do that. And so I think the fact that they're coming off of a massive series victory over a great team that you're hoping is going to completely flip your season around. And then on top of that, you play an in-state rival who you haven't been able to get the hand over the last couple of years. If you don't have a little bit of piss and vinegar today, when will you have the piss and vinegar? I mean, so I think all of these things, them winning in the weekend, them playing this game, heading into a massive Big Ten conference series where they're going to need to they got to win 2 out of 3 games against Rutgers. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, because they got to get themselves back into the Big Ten conference tournament. So, this is it. This is the fire. If you don't, like you said, if you don't have it now, when the hell are you going to have it?
Yeah,
so when are you going to have it?
10 games the next 15 days will determine Nebraska baseball. But I like that Creighton team. And they've got a big weekend too. They got UConn at home for the weekend. All right, couple of emails here on.
We got a lot of emails.
It's a great day at work. Great day.
This is good.
Joey writes in, "Hey, come back, Bigalow. No need to cancel him. If afternoon guys could get away with saying 9 wins in football is nothing."
Whoa!
What era?
Well, he continues.
No, I said what era? Nine wins in
the NFL? Could have been talking about the Cowboys, because 9-8.
And anyone can do it, like a few said after Bo was fired. How about Nebraska brought up the idea of bringing back Bo for the spring game?
Yeah.
Then Bigalow should be fine to say whatever he wants. May not always agree with him, but love that he keeps it real all the time on how he feels. All right. We're going to guilt him into coming back. The Lego Maniac says Jacob should reactivate his Twitter and just start posting examples of idiot Nebraska media from past springs, talking about some random player that flashed in a meaningless spring ball. Hey, stop.
That would be, oh my God, that'd be incredible. That would talk about adding gasoline to the fire. I mean, that would be insane.
I don't know. You know what? I don't have a problem with people talking Nebraska football. I like to talk Nebraska football.
We do live in Nebraska.
There's a lot of people that are employed by the attention towards Nebraska football.
Yes.
Okay. So whether you're in media or not, because spring football is meaningless, but the media here try to make it into the CFP. You know what? Give me a receipt, Zach. What media tries to make spring football in Lincoln into the CFP?
Yeah,
no. I will address that if you can let me know properly, because I don't know anybody
I disagree with that.
That anybody treats it like that. Now, you probably weren't even born. When spring football practice was open every day, it was covered more intense.
Yeah.
Trust me, it was like there was something new every single day. But now it's sporadic on availability. Like today, there is availability. So it's not talked about intently as intensely as it used to be. So there you have that. One other one. This is from Kevin. Hey guys, I heard Bigalow on your show yesterday, and you guys talked briefly about Bryce Sanford. Ooh, Iowa transfer.
Yeah.
I could go back to Iowa, or could go to Nebraska.
Be a big pickup.
Or could go to Champaign. By the way, Pop Isaacs to Ole Miss.
How about that?
One thing I don't hear people talk about is how the Sanford family has very strong Husker ties. Bryce's dad graduated from Holdridge and played on the boys' state championship team back in the mid-'80s. Also, Fred didn't recruit Peyton, but he did Price. Peyton is his brother. They're both from suburban Des Moines. The only reason Price picked Iowa was to play with his brother. There's a real chance that Price comes to Lincoln. I agree with that point. Nebraska made a really good pitch last week when he was on campus in the offense and the familiarity of the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, Price's mom is originally from Iowa, and her dad, Price's grandpa, was a longtime high school basketball coach in the state of Iowa. So with all that said, and thank you, Kevin. I know the boys well, and they are really great kids and a great family. Let's hope Holdridge-Nebraska connection can pull Price back to Lincoln. Thank you, Kevin.
That's great. It was a very nice email.
Very positive.
Very insightful. I totally agree. I think Bryce Sanford would be an absolutely great addition to this roster, especially when we talk about how much spacing this offense needs. He'd fit in like a glove.
All right. To finish the hour, the hour of Bigalow.
Donnie.
Here is Don. Good morning.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Don, how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. How are you doing, Gary?
You know what?
Sorry I missed you at the softball game last week.
You were there?
I was tailgating.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I didn't have a ticket. No, dead serious.
Okay.
Little Platteview grad, 1992. Two of my classmates, one last name Kuzak, one last name Rongish.
Oh, yeah. Ava. Is that his daughter?
Both of them Avas. They both had daughters named Ava. They both played on the 18U team together to win the Natty, cool. And then they played against each other last week. So I got to hang out with my boys, have a couple of beverages.
Yeah, that was a good night.
Yeah, that was fun. It was, yeah, absolutely. So what did he do? Paraphrase it for me. Don't get yourself in trouble.
Oh, we didn't do anything.
What did Jacob do?
We did radio.
So Jacob, he came on the show yesterday, and Jacob was already triggered. Jacob doesn't like the attention that Nebraska football gets because he's a Nebraska basketball guy, and he used to be in the Nebraska basketball program. And I think he started on a sarcastic tone, and then he got angry. And so then he kind of tried to be funny, taking shots, and some people didn't take it the right way. And so while we were trying to talk basketball, he was trying to start fires all over the state.
Yes.
And then it continued afterwards on social media, and it was funny, and then it was uncomfortable, and then it really got sideways quick, and people were missing the point, and there were some that were serious, some that were not, and now we have a deleted Twitter account and a canceled Jacob Bigalow, who just moved into his new place, and he's already canceled.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy how life works, Don.
It's nuts, man. I mean, sarcasm is a food group just like it is to you.
Hell yes.
Gary, for me. And it does not translate well in text.
No, it doesn't, and it does. There's no sarcasm font on Twitter, which, if Musk is going to do something, I don't know what he's doing today besides handing out $1 million checks. That would be the next button to add.
Yeah,
I'd even pay up for that.
I would too. I already pay premium. That would be a great feature to have.
I would. That would be an $8 upgrade for me there every month.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep Bigalow alive, but it's we hope to resurrect him and his career.
It's almost Easter
because he's got a good family.
I literally just about 10 minutes ago, I registered daddyneedsatouchdown.com on GoDaddy.
No, you didn't.
Nice.
Yes, I did.
Oh my!
We have the best listeners.
Hey.
So I if you're out there and you're bored this morning and you got your ass out of bed and you're looking for a podcast, DM me. Oh, wait, you can't DM me because you deleted your Twitter account.
Done. I love this. Thank you. Thank you. I will pass along the information, and hopefully we can put you two together, and it'll be a fruitful relationship.
Hell yes.
All right. Hey, you guys enjoy the rest of the day.
Don, you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Incredible.
Yes.
Yeah, I would. This is taking a life of its own. Okay. I mean, this is Husker Twitter at its peak, right? Like just one little interview with, some emotion turns into just an absolute sideways Husker Twitter argument with now we have a new website being created.
Daddy Needs Touchdown is available on Twitter. Should we?
Yes. Yes.
All right. You're on that.
I'll do it.
We're on to Sam McEwen. He's coming up at 7:30.
That Sam.
Sam, basketball or football?
Sam, do you need a touchdown today?
Hey.
Does Getty need a touchdown?
Here's how it'll really tick people off. The most popular thing that's come out of spring football is the head coach doing a TikTok with Harper Murray.
Yeah.
That will get people triggered. We're back with hour 2 after this. All right, hour number 2. Again, if you did not stay up late last night, Nebraska and Georgetown play at 8:30.
Yeah,
on a Wednesday night in the quarterfinals of the Crown.
I know it's the Crown, and I know it's the postseason tournament you don't want to be in, and like it's not overly serious.
Spoken like a true marketer.
There is a part of me that I am kind of happy I do get to watch Nebraska play basketball tomorrow. Okay, I say that now in the pregame when they are down by 12 points at the end of the first half and have 9 turnovers and have missed 7 layups. Maybe I won't be as happy that I am watching that team, but currently right now in my state, I am a little bit I will say I am slightly excited I get to watch that team play basketball again.
One thing from, and this isn't new, but it just is reiterated when you watch a Nebraska team playing in Vegas. So the Nebraska brand is strong, and there are quite a few. I mean, the Las Vegans for Nebraska, I don't know if they still pay to put the games on the radio on a radio station out there, but there's quite a few of us.
Sure.
Bishop has done it more than I have that have gone out there to speak. And his first name was Gary. I believe he passed away, but he was in charge of the Las Vegans for Nebraska. And it was a huge group, but he would pay for, you go out there. Like one year I was out there with Johnny Rogers and you talk to all the Husker fans. So there are a lot of retirees from Nebraska that live out in Vegas. And there were probably there last night. And then there were people that, maybe basketball fans, they were just in the area and they're like, I'll go to a game.
Shout out, Chris.
Here's watching the Nebraska brand in Vegas always gets me to think of what would Nebraska do to go to Vegas and play? Like the only way they would do probably a football game would be either the bowl game or if the Big Ten had one year where they had the championship out there. They've already moved their media days out there. Will they go a step further and do their championship game in Vegas, take it out of Indianapolis? But it is interesting to see like places where the Nebraska brand is really strong. California is one place. They're already taking care of California with USC and UCLA in the Big Ten. Texas is a place, and I think they would like to get into Texas with more of their teams competing. But Vegas might be a market that is ideal for Nebraska athletics. Like, think big, volleyball. Think bigger. Nebraska finds their way into the Players Era Festival, which I don't know if there's, that door is blocked or whatever, but they've expanded to 32 teams. But the brand in Vegas for Nebraska has always been really strong, and that tournament benefited last night from having Nebraska play, and they get another day. Did they put the attendance in the box score?
I didn't see an attendance in the box score.
I mean, it looked like the crowd in that building looked like the same size crowd that for the Players Era Festival that had better teams back in November that Creighton participated in.
I think, also too, like, and kind of just to take this into a like macro college sports era, and maybe Nebraska doesn't fully need it as much as other teams do, but there is a benefit to traveling to other places and traveling to other cities and still showing that, hey, we have a brand out here, and hey, we have fans out here, and hey, we have people who can root for us out here. Because as we get further and further down the line of college sports, there are going to be teams that are left out of the party. There are going to be teams that may not be a part of this impending super league or whatnot. And so when you have a college and you're able to show off that there are so many different parts of the country that you can go to, and there are people who are going to show out for you, and you can exemplify your brand like that, people pay attention to it, right? And it's a way for the people who make decisions or people who look to invest in brands and stuff like that to be like, hey, they're more than just Lincoln, Nebraska. They're more than this just small town or small state. This is something that travels nationwide. And so I think that definitely does have to be a bit of a forward-thinking vision from Troy Dannon in the athletic department of where are the different places that we could go that we could show off, hey, this is more than just one state, that we are a not just national but global brand on top of that.
How do you guys think the Big Ten basketball tournament, men's basketball tournament, would do in Vegas?
I don't know. I struggle.
They've only won 3 national titles since '87. Not a basketball conference.
I struggle with that combo because I've always felt like the Big Ten Conference Championship is kind of like a team-based thing and a competitive-based thing in terms of attendance. Like, there are years where the United Center is packed and it looks great, and man, it's raucous, and like it's an incredible venue. And then there are games at the United Center where it's like empty.
Yep.
You know, where it's like, oh, this stadium is clearly way too big to be hosting a tournament like this.
But is Indianapolis and Chicago a destination, though, for Midwesterners? Because you more than likely go there for vacation.
Anyway.
So it doesn't make it special. The one thing, and I think this is what Jim Delaney was trying to do with the just failed exercise to put the Big Ten basketball tournament at MSG the week before the Big East, is you're thinking, okay, Midwesterners, New York City's a destination. When they went to D.C., it's a destination. Vegas, if I say, hey, let's go to Vegas and watch a week of basketball, instead of going, hey, let's go to Indianapolis and watch a week of basketball, and I think they do a great job. I think the Big Ten tournament in Indianapolis is fantastic. But if I said Vegas, aren't your cockles being warmed and you're like, hell yes?
I think for me, I mean, it can get expensive to go out to Vegas, obviously. And I do think it still kind of boils down to, in my opinion, how good is the team? If Nebraska was really, really good, or your team was really, really good, I think, oh my God, you would much rather go to Vegas than go to Indianapolis or Chicago. Now, if your team isn't that good and they're not going to be there for a long time, more than likely, I don't know if you're dropping that bag to do that. Here's one for you. It might be, I know that this city isn't synonymous with being Midwest, but neither is Vegas. I think Nashville would be an interesting location for a Big Ten tournament. Like Nashville itself, like Broadway, that strip, like that has become a place where a lot of people enjoy to go on vacation.
Big Ten?
For a Big Ten conference tournament. I just think that like Nashville's hot right now. A lot of people go on vacation. A lot of people like to party.
Yeah, SEC's not seeding
There's a
that.
problem.
Is the SEC there? Or?
Yeah, that's where the SEC
Oh,
is.
yeah, they're not going to seed Nashville.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
But
it was a good idea.
So when the Big Ten takes their media day to Vegas this summer, and they'll get a lot of attention. If just like the NFL, if the Big Ten thinks they can make money off of an event in Vegas, they're going to a Vegas eventually, because now all the guardrails are off about gambling. People are going into Vegas. If they can make money, the Big Ten will find a way to put something in Vegas. I mean, let's think about it. Fortunately, they've expanded the agreement between the Big Ten and Omaha for the baseball, but your best baseball teams are kind of on the West Coast.
Yeah.
What about when they open up the new A's stadium, if they ever do, the Big Ten baseball tournament going to Vegas eventually? Because the football and the men's basketball are prime property, so you got to be careful. But baseball would be one of those, out to Vegas in a major league stadium, appease the folks on the West Coast.
I don't think you can move the football game. I think the football game forever is going to have to be in the Midwest, whether it be in Lucas Oil Stadium or somewhere around that area. I think basketball, I think you can easily move it. I think there would be a lot of people probably mad in the Indianapolis area that enjoy having that tournament, enjoy having that economic boost. But at the same time, I do think that in terms of just from an event perspective, you would much rather go to a Big Ten tournament event in Vegas than you would at Indy. And I think that there is a benefit for the Big Ten to do that. The baseball tournament, it kind of boils down to, wow, you are catering to a lot of, to a very small proportion of your baseball conference. And I don't know how happy, especially the East Coast teams would be, especially if they're very good, that they got to go all the way out to the West Coast to play a very important tournament. At the same time,
don't they already go out past Vegas to play an important series?
Well, yes, but it's a little bit different though, because if that's one series, right? This is the Big Ten baseball tournament where if you're going to make the NCAA tournament, I mean, you have to win this tournament. I mean, there are bids on the line, right? When you do the one series, yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but it's only, 3 games, and it's still inconsequential to your regular season, but it doesn't determine the postseason nearly as much as what a Vegas, or a Big Ten tournament would. At the same time, they're just the baseball, like Big Ten baseball, like I just don't think people are clutching on to it being in the Midwest and it being there. So I think that is a good, I really do think it would be a good area to experiment with. And I do think that you would get more people interested that may not be diehard Big Ten baseball fans who would actually attend to that, which is an important, population to grab.
Fremont Fred says Fremont is a destination. Could you host where the Moos play?
Very drivable for Husker fans, so that could benefit well.
There would be some people, though, that would be ticked off because it might be too much of an advantage, more of an advantage than it is in Omaha, is being in Fremont in that ballpark. Somebody was telling me, by the way, a great meat spot in Fremont. I know this is not a joke. This is not April Fool's. Somebody yesterday was raving about a meat spot in Fremont that I've never heard of. They said their corned beef is unbelievable. They slice it right there.
Oh,
and
my God.
I'm like, you know what? I got a friend who, if anybody knows about the meat in Fremont, it would be Fred. Yeah. So I will ask him.
Corned beef, when done correctly, unmessable with. I mean, can't beat it.
We have a addition to the program from yesterday, not concerning Jacob Bigalow.
Oh, okay.
Travis, who is, for people, we do not get Channel 4 here in Omaha, but I believe that Channel 4 out of Hastings is part of the Lincoln Cable. Is that right?
I don't know.
You know what? Come to think of it, I think my in-laws have those
So
channels.
Travis Klinecki, who is a longtime meteorologist there, great guy, great follow on Twitter, by the way, at Travis_KLANECKY. Loves 1620 The Zone. He heard us talking about Adam Lefkoe yesterday.
Yeah.
And so he DM'd me. He said, after he graduated from Syracuse,
I just guessed.
He worked in Hastings.
Wait, I knew this. My wife looked this up a couple years ago. Because is it Hastings? Like the one in Nebraska or the one that used to sell videos and stuff?
I did not know that, but
Is that in Minnesota?
I thought they had them in Nebraska. No,
well,
they have
a Hastings, Nebraska. They also have a Hastings, Minnesota.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're talking about Porn Shop?
No, just it was like Blockbuster.
Well, kind of like if you go
I mean, that was Movie Gallery.
If you go behind the curtain, they had the porn movies at Blockbuster.
I wouldn't know. I wasn't part of that era, unfortunately. I feel like I would have enjoyed that, though.
You enjoy some good porn?
Yeah, why not?
When done correctly,
well, let me
unmessable.
There's probably, I wouldn't say, why not? You know what? Hey, if you're Hey, if you got a good connection and it's streaming well and you got surround sound, hey, for your perspective, you're like, hey, why not?
Some people hit up GMA in the morning.
Got a lazy boy for a reason.
Hey, there's a workaround of all the limitations in the state of Nebraska to look at porn.
And I found them. So anyway, but back to Adam Lefkoe.
Wow. Who are you? You gamble and you watch porn. You're a normal person.
I'm a true degenerate. And the funny thing is that I have $10 in free play today, so I'm going to the War Horse Casino. But to talk about Adam Lefkoe real quick, I was listening to him when I was like 14 years old. He started one of the very first like gambling podcasts, like a true like, hey, this is about like gambling. It was Sims and Lefkoe. It was Chris Sims, who's now on the NBC Sports, and it was Adam Lefkoe.
Good morning, Roy Williams.
They did it for a couple of years, and they like broke down games, and like they were very, very good together. And then they would also do like some gambling stuff, and then Sims left for NBC, and then it just became the Lefkoe show, and then Lefkoe ended up going to Turner Sports. But he's a guy that has had a really, really cool rise into the business. Like he was got really, really popular on Instagram, and then was able to parlay it into doing like the Tuesday Dwayne Wade, Candace Parker, TNT stuff, and like he's kind of the heir apparent at this point to Ernie. So little Adam Lefkoe info for you.
Hey, why did you have to? We're celebrating the crown today, Jimmy, and you brought up a bad moment in Husker football history.
Which one did I bring up?
You brought up Chris Sims and Roy Williams.
Oh, yeah.
I watched Chris Sims just dice up Nebraska's defensive backs. He threw for 417.
Oh,
no.
Yes.
419, and Roy Williams caught 13.
Oh, not that Roy Williams. I meant the one that Superman did. No. When I think Chris Sims, I think 5 interceptions in big games. I know what you're talking about, yes. And they shouldn't have gone for the pass. I mean, they were in good shape. I was rooting for Nebraska that night.
Chris Sims walked into Memorial Stadium and threw for 419, and Roy Williams he only threw 2 touchdown passes, and both were to Roy Williams. But Roy Williams caught 13 balls for 161 yards in that game. I remember
he
that
makes a cameo on that.
Chris Sims, unfortunately, is known for saying that Kellen Mond was going to be the best quarterback in that Justin Fields, Trey Lance draft. And then he was also very, very infamous. Now that like John Gruden is very popular, the clip of Gruden telling him what the play is and him just not being able to recite it about 4 different times. The guy is
Spider 2 wide banana. How hard is that?
No, it was bad. Have you seen that clip? It's a bad clip. It's like Gruden yelling in Gruden 4 times for him to say the play. Couldn't do it. It's bad. But He's pretty good at NBC. I like him.
Jimmy, I don't like you today. Because now I just have visions of that game in 02.
We're talking
through my
about
head.
two different Roy Williams, and he's gone to a dark place. I'm going to a funny day in the Cotton Bowl.
Your eyes are wide right now. White.
They should have let the ball go in the end zone. Well, it would have been 1st and 10 at the 20 instead of the 1.
How about also, you know what? Jamal did not have to throw the ball. Okay,
right.
Nebraska was the thing. There was only 3:24 to go in that game, and Nebraska was down 10. I mean, DeJuan Gross, it was that was the horrible year, the horrible uniforms. Yeah. Nebraska was 6-3. They'd won 26 in a row in that game. For everything in that game that Chris Sims did, when you throw for 419 and you only win by a field goal, I mean, that game was for the taking.
Yes,
that was such a miserable thing. I can still see because I mentioned him yesterday, my good friend, because he was the sports director at Channel 8, and I was doing the sidelines. We were right next to each other, and Nathan Vasher made the interception right in front of us, was celebrating at my feet. I could have kicked him. Okay.
Why didn't you?
Well, I mean,
it was cold. He probably would have hurt his foot. It was a cold night.
This is peak sports fandom, by the way. Like
you were alive for this. You were probably watching this game.
Even though it's a loss, it is one of the most memorable games in Memorial Stadium history.
Oh, absolutely. But I just love how, still years and years later, like you're just thinking about it sitting down, like getting stressed out about like
I still get pissed at Rod Strickland for a pass in 1990.
Here's the problem. You know that you're in a bad spot when during a stretch of eras, you can remember the losses more than the wins.
Oh, absolutely.
I know about that.
All right.
That is the worst too, because those are the teams where they were right there, right? Like you're thinking of all like the what ifs and like, man, this team could have been great. Like we could be sitting here talking about all the incredible memories and like the championship games and whatnot.
No reason.
And yet all we just remember about is just these specific moments. Yeah.
Why would they change those uniforms? This iconic look. It's Nebraska football.
Let me tell you, they had an athletic director who got a whim and said, "Man, you're going to love these." That was when I got called into his office because I broke that they were changing the uniforms.
Oh.
He goes, "The players like them." I'm like, "They're god awful."
Our players?
No, he was so fired up about them.
Did they slap a Herbie on it?
No.
They slapped the whitest stripes, and they're white on white with stripes. It was awful. I don't know what was more awful, the team that was in them or the uniforms.
Yeah, Penn State game. That started the season, right?
There's a question an angry Gary Sharp posed on Sports Nightly. That probably also did not bode well.
All
right.
But were you wrong?
No, I was not. Sometimes it's the uniform. Look there's going to be teams that are going to get better in the NFL this year because yesterday they proved you can wear alternates up to 4 times. Yeah. So there's going to be some teams that have these incredible alternates. They're going to be better. Look it's scientific. Look it up. All right. Sam McCune of the World Herald is coming up a little bit later. Brian Christopherson and Andy Kendi on 1620 The Zone. Hey, are you in need of a roof quote? Are you in need of a repair on your roof? You know what? We could have storms tonight. We could have storms here in the spring. And we just went through a rough year last year in Omaha with storms where people needed roof repair. How about an Omaha roofing company that is focused on serving you? That is Moose Roofing. Pat and his crew, they're local. They've been here since 1996. They take care of the entire community. Why? Because they just don't show up and put a roof on your house. They don't like go in your driveway and go, you need a new roof. And so they're up on your roof. What they do is they take the time to get to know you. They've got consultants that'll come out to your home. They'll review what you need, and then they will review your roof. We'll talk about the ventilation system that'll give you maximum net-free area. Man, when you hear Pat talking about that, you're like, whoa. They will also show you how to fortify your roof before the next major storm occurs and the proper maintenance needed for it. They'll save you a lifetime of hassle when you go with Moose Roofing to fix your roof. Plus, when you get through the entire process, that insurance, you have to haggle a little bit. Moose Roofing, they have an entire department that is dedicated to helping you navigate that increasingly difficult insurance claims. Residential roofing, roof repair and service, commercial roofing, schedule an appointment today. And if you're wondering, how good are they? Just listen to what their clients say. They say top notch. The reviews are out there, over 15,000 roofs as well. Talk to the MVPs in Omaha when it comes to roofing. It is Moose Roofing. Online, you can find them at mooseroofing.com. All right, welcome to April Fool's Day. Also happens to be an election day in this city. Seems appropriate.
Coincidence?
Ha! That's a good one.
Nebraska, Georgetown, they play on Wednesday night. If you didn't stay up to watch the limited Hoyas play, they apparently had some guys that were under the weather. But Malik Mack had 37. Georgetown and Nebraska, first time they've ever played.
I feel like it's kind of hard to get like sick in Vegas from drinking too much, considering the fact that those drinks are so expensive. I mean, those drinks are really like, I've been told stories of people getting like multiple drinks and them being like hundreds of dollars, and because they just did not know what they were doing. And like
I feel like NFL game.
I feel like, well, like at least those were like $10. Like I've been told like horror stories from kids my age who like had no idea how expensive Vegas drinks were and told me like, yeah, I stupidly said, hey guys, I'll get the first round. And then I get $115 like bill for like 2 Miller Lights and a mixed drink. So, I mean, it's like for you to get
glitter
sick,
in the face.
I mean, how much NIL money are they giving in Georgetown that they're able to run the town and get all these drinks and end up being ill? And that's crazy.
I don't know. I should have checked the line. So they announced that during the Nebraska game that their roster would be limited, and I don't even know what the Georgetown Washington State line was. I probably think Georgetown was favored.
The Georgetown Washington State line yesterday was Georgetown -2. So they just covered, backdoor cover there. Look at that. And then
good teams win, great teams cover.
And then tomorrow's line has not been released yet on my book. So we'll probably
on your book.
Yeah. Well, I'm where I get my lines. It has not been released yet on my on my book. So it's just not there. We'll probably typically these things they happen around 4, 5, 6 o'clock, you know. So I'm sure we'll find out tomorrow when I do my classic 4 a.m. wake up and look at the board, you know. Some people immediately when they wake up, they go to the bathroom. I immediately open up the book, and
it's because he's young.
Just got to see what you like, you know.
Do you have a scoreboard out there so people can follow along your success?
That's true. I don't have much of a life anymore.
I do,
unfollow this.
Actually, not a joke. Now, this isn't just sport betting, but I do have a notes app that is Matt's gambling record, and it's a full like audited
So what percentage are you at?
I don't have a percentage, but for the total month of March, I'm plus $931.
I have my blood pressure log.
So there you go. It was a good month.
No Campbell soup
for Matt McMaster. Last month I was down on the month. I lost $9 last month. So we were trending in the right direction. Unfortunately, my birthday month, I just have a feeling that it probably won't bode too well for me. I've been taking too much from the book in the casino, so I just feel like the tides are eventually going to turn. But for right now, we're paying off our NFM furniture, so we'll kick the can down the road a little bit.
You should.
I think.
Let people follow from afar.
The problem is though, is that I
don't
have picks every single day, but I will do that from now on. If people want to follow along, when I have a good feeling about a board, which I have a feeling I've been looking ahead to the matchups on Friday and the spreads on Saturday, and there's some horse racing on Saturday.
Shout out
Journalism right now. It was 5-1. He's a horse running in the Santa Anita Derby. He was 5-1.
The horse name is Journalism?
Journalism. Yeah.
He must have an alcohol problem.
He's
smokes like a chimney.
He must have gained a lot of weight in the last couple of months. No, he's a really good horse. He's facing off against Citizen Bull. So we got to see what the practice times are and what they're doing. But I got a feeling that you could probably get a nice wheel bet in the Santa Anita Derby with Journalism. So I'll have a board. I'll have Matt's big board for Friday.
All right.
I'm all in on this.
I'll have
Go
Matt's big board for Friday.
No easy transition to this with Sam McEwen coming up next, but I do want to mention really, really sad news. If you know the Noonans, David Noonan was involved in an accident just outside of Elmwood in Cass County and passed away. And I know there's a lot of people that more familiar with his brother Danny, but David was very well known, gotten to know the family a little bit with the twins and, of course, Danny and his great family. But David passed away. Played football at Nebraska in the late 80s to the early 90s after his brother Danny. But probably most notable, he impacted a ton of people as the strength and conditioning coach at UNO. And little known fact, when Chris Crutchfield was a GA, his office mate was David Noonan. So that news was out yesterday, and I saw Danny and his other brother were talking about David, and man, it was heartbreaking. David was a really good dude who, when strength and conditioning at UNO, he was top of the line. All right, we'll take a break, come back. Sam McEwen of the World Herald will join us next. There is availability in Lincoln today. John Butler, the defensive coordinator, speaks. Sam will speak many big words with lots of vowels coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, let's welcome in our good friend from the Omaha World Herald, Sam McEwen. Good morning, Sam.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. Let's start with football, much to the dismay of Jacob Bigalow. There is, because I know as we've gotten to know Rule, and now this is the third spring, and he's very personable for the media. He's a great PR for the university. And yesterday, the TikTok with him and Harper Murray come out, and we know what kind of a
Right.
following Harper Murray has. The coaches that you've followed, because I was thinking about this watching him yesterday, and at the end of the day, it may or may not mean anything when it comes to the on-field stuff. But how refreshing is it to have a football coach at Nebraska that you feel some authenticity, that they like being here and they want to be here, like Matt Rule
Right.
comes across?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's for one thing, I think he's kind of a fun-loving guy. So like he wants to have a good time and try to keep things light when he can. Obviously, there's nothing easy about that job, and so I think this is probably an opportunity just to have a little bit of fun with who somebody I assume is his daughters look up to, and Harper Murray, because they're volleyball fans, and so I'm guessing that it has something to do with that. It's probably a real treat for his kids, and so that part's cool. I think he certainly works long enough and hard enough at the serious side of it that there can be a lighthearted moment. So I think that's kind of just culture today.
Mm-hmm.
I think you see more and more leaders trying to bridge the generational gap that way. I mean, we can't all do it.
Yeah.
Some people are more authentic at it than others. There's probably some coaches that are 40 whatever age rule is that they aren't quite as lighthearted about that stuff, and probably don't fit that mode as well. But he's going to be who he is, and when he got here, he was doing the emojis, right? Everybody remembers that. There's been some other things, going to restaurants and stuff like that. One thing he said when he got here is we're going to live our lives. We're not going to be we're not going to be change who we are. We're going to have the fun that we're going to have, and I think he's done that. Thought it was a fun moment in what again is a very serious spring. Everybody kind of over there knows how big of a deal this spring is, and all the work that they've got to get done in preparation for the season.
So, I think this NCAA tournament has been quite fascinating because we've seen a lot of these press conference moments, right? Whether it be for some players or coaches, and it's made a ton of headlines. And one of the things that I saw, Sam, was they asked Maryland forward Derek Queen about their relationship, the team's relationship with Kevin Willard, and he kind of said, well, he pays us, right? Like that's we in part play hard for him because he's the one who signs the checks. In relation back to Husker football, how difficult but also important do you think it is for football coaching staffs to manage kind of the middle ground of that relationship of, yes, I want to build a personal relationship with you and I want to be your mentor and coach and all that, but at the same time, I'm the one who is signing the checks?
Yeah, first of all, I think Derek Queen has a pretty good relationship with Willard.
Yeah.
I assume Queen's going to the NBA. I'm going to enjoy watching Derek Queen in the NBA. My sense is that Derek Queen's kind of joking a little bit when he says that. I think the answer, that's a good question you ask. I wonder if the answer is a year or two away in terms of definitive, because right now there is a little bit of a separation because it's coming from the collective and it's coming from 1890 at Nebraska and other collectives or whatever. And it's almost like the boosters are signing.
Sure.
With revenue sharing, it is going to be a combination of a coach and a GM, and in Nebraska's case, Haven Fields, who's the football oversight guy, making decisions about payment. And so I think it's maybe a year away. Like the navigation has only just begun, and it isn't always going to be. So the currency used to be, Matt, was playing time.
Yeah.
And, like you gotta navigate that. And the way that's expressed now, the way frustration is expressed now is going to the transfer portal. And so I think you've seen some players both leave other schools and come to Nebraska, and leave Nebraska and go to other schools based on dissatisfaction with opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that's now going to translate a little bit to dissatisfaction with money. And here's the real one. when a guy gets money, gets paid pretty well, and kind of knows that he does, and doesn't perform up to standards or gets hurt, and injuries are a part of football, how do people feel about that? And I don't know that athletes have been truly prepared to process how some of those emotions go. In the NFL, it's very much a business. And you have an agent who can talk you through all those things, and everybody kind of knows what's going on. In college football, these kids are 17, 18, 19 years old. They're arriving at school, and like their agent may not talk to them on a daily basis or whatever, and so it's going to be interesting to watch. I think it's a good question, and I would table it for about a year.
Yeah.
Hey, about 6 weeks ago, Rule was talking about Dylan Raiola. And we know Dylan wants to be great, and he wants to be coached hard. And 6 weeks ago, Rule made a comment about his leadership. And he also made a comment about getting his weight to the proper weight. Now let's fast forward to last week. It wasn't just the head coach, it was his teammates that talked about he looks good in terms of his body composition, which he'll never master because of just the way he's built. But they also talked about his leadership. If you go back 6 weeks and then fast forward 6 weeks, what does that say to you about Dylan and his response?
Rule's answer 6 weeks ago was in response to a question I asked about Dylan's leadership. And so part of what I think he was trying to do at the time was lay out his vision for the steps that Dylan has to take in terms of how to get from A to B, in terms of how you lead a whole team. Because what I asked him was about leading the whole team. And he's like, well, he's got to get the receivers together first. He was creating sort of a process. I think Raiola does a good job of being transparent. And I do appreciate this about him. He could have gone up there, and when Mitch asked him about the body composition, and Mitch asked the question in a good way, he could have just kind of blown it off. He didn't. He was very honest. And that's his dad. I think that's his dad comes from. His dad was unbelievably honest at Nebraska when he was a player. And so, I think Dylan's been raised to be honest. And so he gave a really good answer. Really, really transparent answer. And honestly, the answer was a kind of leadership, because I think he was saying, what I'm having to experience is actually not easy. I'm not going to blow it off. Everybody knows what I've been doing. All his teammates know what he's been doing. And so he gave an answer that I thought his teammates could probably relate to, especially a lineman, because a lineman's got to do stuff that I think it's hard for us to understand, the kind of physical transformation that linemen go through really every offseason, but especially early in their careers when they're reshaping their body from I was the biggest guy in high school and could dominate everybody to I'm no longer the biggest guy, and so now I need to drop X number of pounds of extra weight, and I need to add X number of pounds of muscle. And so linemen understand better really than most of us how that transformation goes and how hard it can be. And so I think he's able to relate to his teammates. I think he tries very hard to do that. One of the things that he talked about was, figuring out what works with each player, what changes them. And he's right about that. There are people who are motivated by different things. Some guys are motivated when you praise somebody else and they want to get that praise. And you don't even have to criticize everybody. Some people need to be God on. And that's true in any walk of a career. And so I think he's learning how to do that. He's always been good with the media. Again, it's just going to take time. You're going to have to get in a football game and be down 4, or let's say you're down early Michigan, 10-3. And you can't wait till the fourth quarter. You're down 10-3 against Michigan and they're controlling the game. You better go score. You better score a touchdown. And he's going to have to be able to tell guys, we don't have time with this team on the field to do X, Y, and Z. We have to go score. And that urgency, when we see that urgency come into place, that's when we'll know that he's got the whole team behind him.
Sam, if you go ahead and look at the history of Dana Holgorsen and the tight end position, it's kind of interesting where when he was at West Virginia, especially in the beginning, it wasn't a position that was necessarily used
a lot in terms of throwing the ball to. But as his time has gone on, and he made his way to Houston, it was a position where they utilized him in the passing game. I think that the tight end room from Nebraska is incredibly intriguing with what they have there. Are you more interested in the potential of the tight end room with Heinrich Haarberg, Carter Nelson, Luke Lindenmeyer, or are you more concerned of, frankly, the lack of experience that they have in that room currently?
I think Lindenmeyer is probably the number one guy, and looked good. Brett. Haarberg, well, you heard Holgorsen say it. And for what it's worth, I look forward to the moment where Haarberg is one-on-one with a linebacker, and somehow they've rotated a safety away from his side of the field, and he's able to get, on top of a guy, so to speak, as they say, run up on him and then get past him. That's going to be a fun moment. But he's obviously still working on their tight end routes where they're 12-yard routes, and he's still working on getting around those guys. Carter Nelson, we'll see with his injury. Mac Markway is going to be a factor when he's healthy. I feel confident that he might be as good as any of them. And so I think there's an intriguing amount of potential there. One of the things that I will say, guys, is that Holgorsen's got the ability, if tight ends are still learning, let's say you're in game one and you feel really good about 4 or 5 receivers and you only feel good about 2 tight ends, and one of them's still coming. Now, Holgorsen's got the ability to, make adjustments to the way that he calls a play or puts a formation out there where Janiron Bonner functions like a tight end, even though he's listed wide out, or Isaiah Hunter. And Isaiah Hunter's going to have to block a little. I mean, he is a large guy, and he's large. I mean, he's Bonner's son. He'll have to block some, or those guys are going to have to figure those things out. Now, when it comes to receiving, and this will be one of the interesting tension points that Holgorsen is going to have to navigate, as he goes through. They do have some guys. They guys that are going to get open. Now they got to catch the ball. That's the second part of it. But they got guys that are going to get open. And by getting open, I don't just mean they got straight line speed the way that Nayor did last year, which he had. Haarberg's similar to Nayor in that way. But they got first step explosiveness and elusiveness, and they flip their hips. Not just Varney, Gilmore and Key, Mosey and Mills. They all can move. Yeah. And so what's going to be interesting is the tension point. I think he's going to get in a situation where he's like, well, I'm just going to roll out here with 4 receivers. We're just going to go. And that'll be a fun thing to watch. And they kind of did that with Tanner Lee in 2017 for people that might remember that team. They had Morgan, and they had Pearsonell, and they had Spielman, and they had Tyler Hoppus, and then they'd usually put another receiver on the field, and they'd just be like, we're going to go 3 wide here, and then Tyler Hoppus, and then a back, and we're just going to throw the football. And it's going to look pretty good. And it did look pretty good a lot of times. I mean, they made Penn State look silly for 3 quarters. So that's going to be the tension point, right? Because he can probably do that with this offense a little bit and with the quarterback he's got, but he's also got to keep in mind that you're trying to protect that defense, which is why Butler's going to talk today. I'm going to keep coming back to that defense over and over and over again. The quality of the playmaking and the explosive playmaking on that defense helps determine how aggressive you can be on offense. Because if your defense, you feel confident, can go out and it's 3rd and 3 and they go get a sack, because they got those kind of guys on that side of the ball, and they got that kind of coordinator on that side of the ball, your offense can feel comfortable to roll out there in 3 and 4 wide and say, screw it. We're going to go score because we think our defense can go get a stop. Yeah. And we'll see. I just don't – I think that's a fascinating story this year, is Butler in that DC position with all of the people who are helping him. And he's got a lot of expertise on that side of the ball, and it should make that group stronger. But they're young, and they have to be good right away, because you don't have time. You're playing a Big 12 team in your first contest.
Defensive backs. So he's got a lot of experience on that side of the ball. Phil Snow is helping defensive backs. And I think Addison Williams is a really good position coach. I mean, the guy was a coordinator. So I think the defensive backs have the best tutelage that they've had since they've been at Nebraska with Rule. And, we know what Cooper could do. I thought Butler getting here a little bit late last year, it took him a while to figure out all the moving pieces that fit into that defense. But to be honest, Sam, I mean, that's the position we're all watching because there are 28 guys in that room. And there are some young guys that are pushing the veteran guys. I mean, how many defensive backs, and there's some guys that they're cross-training, how many defensive backs, when that 105 is set at Arrowhead on a Thursday night, do you think will be on that roster?
Oh, man. Like, I don't have the roster in front of me, so I'd have to count it, right?
You think they would cut half that room after spring ball?
I don't know that they would. I think half is a large number. The former Nebraska coach, Mike Riley, who knows a ton about football, folks. I know it didn't necessarily work here, but the guy knows passing and catching and defending pass as well as anybody. He used to say that good defensive backs are gold, and he's right. You got to have a bunch. Tommy Hill got banged up last year, and it's almost like a Ferrari. I know Dylan used that phrase with his receivers, but when an elite defensive back tweaks something, man, you can tell. Tommy Hill could not lose 4% of his speed and have that still be a good picture. And so you've got to have guys that can come in. And I mean this with a lot of respect. Jeremiah Charles is a hell of an athlete. But if your technique is just a little bit off, you see what happened against UCLA. They had to take him out of the game because UCLA's got elite receivers, and they did. They have great athletes, and they beat him by a half inch, and they did it about 3 times. And it's like, we got to take you out, and not because he did anything terribly wrong, but because that's how close every detail is in the sport with passing and defending pass. So I think you need more. I think they obviously some are going to leave because the roster size dictates it. But can you keep a few of those guys that you might otherwise cut because you feel like you got to make sure you've got enough. So one of the things I'm watching is, okay, I think Sierra Wright is going to be a starting corner. I really do. And he went against Dane Key 2 or 3 times on Thursday, and he did just fine. Sierra Wright's a good player and has shown that, like he was reinvigorated by coming to Nebraska. So then who's on that opposite side, and then who backs up Sierra? It could be Donovan Jones backing up Sierra Wright. Could be Donovan Jones opposite side. Then you got Bly Hill, Amari Sanders. I wouldn't cut him.
Amari Sanders.
He looks good. Certainly wouldn't cut Charles. Now some guys are just going to leave because they're like, I want to go start, but certainly wouldn't go with Mario Bucher. I wouldn't. So it's going to be a really hard situation. Now what they may do is say, well, there's some guys that are kind of tweeners, and can we get them up to the place where they're playing linebacker, or can we not? And what do you do with those guys? Bryson Weber, who's new, just made a play on last Thursday, and you're like, man, that guy's long, and he is. He's like 6'3", and Bly Hill's 6'4". These are all long guys, and so like I would err on the side of keeping more of those guys, and maybe keeping fewer linebackers. But that we'll see what they do. I'm not the expert. Like Rule and Butler will have a say. Rule will have a say. These guys will not all be free to keep. I will say that too. You have to make decisions. To retain. Vincent Shavers showed just enough last year that I don't think retaining Vincent Shavers was the easiest thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so like there's other guys that they know how good they're gonna be, and other schools know too. And so you've got to make some commitments, X, Y, and Z, and then you got to figure out whether you can what you can afford in other spots. So it's a great conversation. I wish I could watch practice all spring and just kind of get a sense of like how they're going to make that decision. there are things about the current moment of college football that are more interesting to me than they would have been in the past. Because in the past, what you would have said is, well, we're just going to have 150 guys. And if a guy wants to stick around for a couple extra years, and, we probably won't play, but he might, and he'll be over here and whatever. Now teams are rewarded for their roster decision making. It isn't just Alabama gets to keep this guy on the third string because he's going to play when he's a junior, a senior. Now Alabama has to make good decisions with its roster. Every school does. And that's not easy. That's not going to be an easy thing to do. And so it's going to advantage the teams that understand how to do it and do it economically and do it wisely. And I think, for what it's worth, I think Nebraska believes that they can do that really well. But that is a strength of Rule, that he can bring that to the table, and maybe some head coaches can't. Nobody's going to say that out loud, but I think that's part of what they're leaning on.
I'm vibing with you. 47 bodies, linebacker DBs are the current 133. That's a large chunk. Sam, as always, we appreciate
47 linebackers and defensive backs.
Yeah, there are 19 linebackers. There are 28 defensive backs. Not all are scholarship, but 105 will be all scholarship. So 47 of the DBs and linebackers take up the current roster, which is at 133, which is a plus 28 to get to that 105.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I would not cut 14. No, I would. I don't know what the number would be, 20, 22, but I would not.
It's going to be a hell of a battle.
Cut that in half.
Yep. It'll be a great battle.
I wouldn't. Now, the scholarship thing, you certainly can make all those scholarships. When it's scholarship money, it just comes out of the revenue sharing either way. And so, you can be flexible on how you compensate student athletes kind of going forward. But, and I think the Alston money is included in that too, which is weird. So there's a whole bunch of things that once the what do you call it? The settlement gets approved, if it gets approved, we don't know that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Claudia Wilkin has to say so. And there's a million different, petitions that say shouldn't do it. I hope. Well, I don't have any hopes, but once it's approved, if it's approved, then they've got to start making all those decisions, and we'll write way more about it. It's hypothetical up until the day it's approved. Dannon understands it. I can tell you that. I've talked to him about it. We'll talk to him more. He does get it. I think Nebraska has several advantages in its vault. One, Dannon really understands it. He's got people that he knows, and he understands this process. And two, I think Rule should be good at the roster piece relative to money. So should Hoiberg, for what it's worth.
Yeah. He's
done it before. And so, I think the issue with the basketball team is how much money they're going to have to use. And we don't know the answer to that.
Well, there's a reason why more NBA assistants are getting hired in college basketball. Sam, as always, appreciate it. We'll see you later this morning. That's Sam McCune in the World Herald. Special teams could be pretty good. There'll be some guys that will flash on special teams that are linebackers or DBs.
Yeah, that's going to be, it's a little bit like an NFL roster in a way where it's like special teams is going to bring, if you can play special teams, you put a lot of value on yourself to make the roster. It's going to be incredibly important and very competitive.
All right, hour number 3 coming up, still BC and AK. Brian Christopherson, Andy Kindy stopped by on a Tuesday, April Fool's edition. Yes, they are coming on 1620 The Zone.
Yeah, I know it's cold, it's wet outside, but baseball fans, you can take a swing at making picks on all your favorite players with Underdog. To play, choose whether a player go higher or lower, what other stats like strikeouts, home runs, hits, or more. And you can create entries with all baseball picks, or you can still mix and match across the other sports. It's just that we have baseball now to use, and it is easier than you think. This week on Underdog, I'm diving all in the first full week of the Major League Baseball season. We've already been lucky with a couple of games. I'm looking forward to a little bit more before we get to the weekend. Here's how it works. Download the Underdog app. Sign up now using promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on all the fun when you sign up with promo code ZONE. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska. Oh, Okay, present in a state where underdog fantasy operates, like Nebraska, where we live. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit ncpgambling.org.
Hope Freddie Freeman is feeling better this morning. Got injured entering the shower
We've all been
yesterday.
there.
Damn.
Baseball has some of the best injuries.
I'll second that. That, and also too, you have a guy who that team was playing against yesterday who happened to be taking hormones for pregnancy, which got him suspended for half the season and the entire postseason.
Ron Gant never did that.
Incredibly tough loss for the Atlanta Braves. I mean, I'm surprised that the MLB even tests for that drug to the fact that they even were like to the point where, oh yeah, we could have baseball players potentially taking drugs that are supposed to, help you during pregnancy. That
as long
I
as it
guess
helps
is
you win.
like a domino effect that leads to more testosterone. But it's absolutely wild. I'll tell you this though, I don't blame Freddie Freeman because it depends on what shower he has, right? If he's got one, no, I'm serious. So if he's got a shower that doubles as a bathtub, that can always be a little bit difficult, especially climbing in and climbing out, right? And especially if you don't have a special mat placed down on that area, you can slip and fall. And I'll tell you something right now, if the bath is there, you can hit the back of your head pretty hard, on that tub. Now, if it's just an open walk-in shower, you got to worry about stubbing your foot because it is a little bit of an elevated platform. You just don't stroll into the shower. So if you're not paying attention, you could stub a toe or like hurt an ankle.
He seems to me as a walk-in guy.
Yeah. I don't think
not a step over the tub into the shower like mine.
No. You'll like our Marriott in Morgantown.
I need to meet a shower guy. I would love to have a walk-in shower. Like in some of the nicer hotels, and the run of basketball season where you stay in every single hotel in America, the walk-in shower where only one door opens has become very, very popular. I like the walk-in shower. He strikes me as a walk-in shower guy.
So I don't have a bath. I have a walk-in shower.
Okay.
Now, I did make a very vital mistake here. When I first was buying everything for my apartment, one of the first things that I grabbed was I needed a shower curtain, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I got a pretty nice, like $23 shower curtain, right? Because, it's a very important part. It's a very important part.
That's how much they run now?
Yeah. Everything is running incredibly expensive. I find out I have a sliding door. I just have I didn't need one. I didn't need to buy a shower curtain at all. It's just I have just a plastic glass type door and it's got a handle on the outside. I just fling it open and I walk in. Unfortunately though, I don't have a bath. I don't get to take baths.
That's a good thing.
It's a damn shame.
That's a good thing.
I enjoy taking baths. There's nothing better than a long week. You can just kind of, just run it or maybe just spontaneity or just I feel like a bath today.
Seems like a poll question, Jimmy. Is a bath all about spontaneity?
I think it is, especially if you just happen to have the Dr. Teal's bath salts. You ever bathed with the Dr. Teal's bath salts before?
To be honest,
I think my grandma did.
The last probably 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times that I've had a bath, I bathed with someone else. Okay. And it was not with my mom hovering over me, taking care of me as a toddler.
Okay.
You're saving water.
I'll tell you something right now. When I was playing a lot of sports back in the day, it was
TMI. By the way, I apologize for that.
You
know out there. Kidding.
The about, I think, 80 to 90 baths I've probably taken in my lifetime. I've never taken them with another person. It's always just been by myself. Dr. Teal salts. You throw it in there.
You didn't have your brother or sister?
No.
Your parents didn't throw you in the bath at the same time?
Yes, there is actually a couple classic pictures of my brother and I when we were younger, and we did the whole bubble thing, and then there's this cute picture of us with the Santa Claus bubble beard, and everything like that. Yeah. If you know.
Yeah, and then you get your parents when you get married, and they show your significant other these little baby pictures where you're naked. They're like, oh, look at they're in the shower.
What do you mean you're leaving? Why are you leaving?
We're
just getting started.
And why were we taking pictures of? Why were we taking nude pictures of me when I was 2 or 3? I believe I was violated.
Yeah. Okay, Epstein.
We had.
Whoa!
That is way too far.
Hey,
that is a whole different level.
My parents were pretty far from being Epsteinish.
Yeah. They weren't
yours. Wait, were we talking about yours?
Oh yeah, no, mine aren't either. Do I have to clarify that? They weren't on a jet or anything.
All of a sudden, I'm at the night before wedding, and they're showing a slideshow, and there's naked Gary is 3 years old, and I'm like, whoa, hey, just kidding. But no, I've not taken a bath. It's been a hard day. I gotta go home.
Good week of shows.
Too much work. I'm in and out. Boom.
I've taken a shower before where I forgot to take the plug out and it started bubbling below me. It started building up, and I just go, you know what? I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to take a bath right now and right here, right in this place.
Sammy Sosa once sneezed so hard that he sprained a ligament in his lower back.
I remember
Baseball
this.
has great injuries. There was a pitcher, I believe I don't think it was Ben Sheets. There was a pitcher for the Brewers. No, Steve Sparks. I think he was playing for the Mariners at the time, was trying to pull off a trick, and he was trying to prove to his teammates that he could rip a phone book. Like not
Oh my God.
not up and down. He was doing it sideways, and he got injured. Marty Cordova, this is a great one because he's a former Twin. He fell asleep in a tanning bed.
That's a tough one.
And burned his face.
I remember this.
So he could, he had to stay out of the sun as much as possible while the burn healed. So he had to miss a few games. He had to miss the day games.
Oh, this is a good one. So I'm now on the revisiting MLB strangest injuries. They have a whole website on MLB.com.
There's a lot of them.
Like just related to this. Here's a good one. This is a classic, like winning does hurt. Lance McCullers in 2022. The Astros right-hander had to push back his scheduled ALCS start against the Yankees by a game because he was hit on the elbow by a champagne bottle during Houston's clubhouse celebration after beating the Mariners.
They used to do that.
That's kind of sick. I mean, you don't want to get hurt, but at the same time, to be partying so hard after you just clinched a series, to be like, oh, no, we got to push back one day. That's pretty cool.
Vince Coleman of the World Series, or no, NLCS in 85. That was a big loss because they went on to lose to the Royals in 7 games. Remember the tarp in the old Busch Stadium? The tarp used to come out of the ground, and then they would mechanically roll it on the field, and he got stuck in between the tarp and injured his leg, and he was out. So there was a guy that, he had 110 stolen bases that year?
He was a dude.
George Brett got injured, not pooping his pants or anything like that. This is a legendary story. Bill Buckner, he had the Cubs game on when the Cubs were on WGN, and him and Bill Buckner were really, really good friends. I don't know if people knew. They had a deep relationship.
No, I didn't.
But Brett was listening. He had the game on in the background, and he heard that Bill Buckner was coming up to the plate. And George told this story at a banquet here in Omaha for the AAA All-Star game, by the way. So he was running to go watch Buckner hit, and he broke his toe. He had to go on the DL.
Yeah, I saw. So that's the bottom of the story right here, and the tarp story you told too. Do you remember the this was kind of like the beginning of like, all right, this guy's kind of a weirdo. Trevor Bauer with the drone, and he was fixing his drone, and he like cut his finger while fixing his drone, and then like I think this was during the World Series run, like his pinky started to bleed while he was pitching because like the stitches were falling out because the dude.
There's a story like that in 04.
And by the way, I'm pretty sure this was like when drones were first coming on, like it was a niche thing, like a different type
drones
deal.
Are big. They had to delay the Cubs game last night because of a drone in Sacramento.
Yeah.
The grounds crew had to go corral it.
Hey, I was a fan of the Sacramento field. Like it actually kind of like I was.
Because you're not a pitcher for the A's.
No.
Good luck being in that ballpark when the wind is blowing out and the small fences.
Hey, when my team scores 18 runs, I'm a fan of that ballpark. Carson Kelly, baby. Have yourself a night. He had himself a Philip Humber and a Sevi Savala, you know. Some days it's your day. Yesterday was Carson Kelly's day, baby.
Polls up, by the way. It's already getting some traction.
I was in my head, I could hear Ron Santo saying back-to-back jacks. What they should do with that ballpark in Sacramento, first of all, they care more about the players than the media, so stop whining about your accommodations for post-game press conference. MLB also is bailing out a terrible owner that they are playing in a ballpark that only seats 14,000. The Tampa Rays experience actually looks pretty good.
That looked better. I saw that.
So
against
last
Pirates.
night, I mean, they packed the place, and what it's going to become is, like the Las Vegas Raiders, where more opposing fans come into your stadium. Mm-hmm. So there were a ton of Cub fans there last night that are up in Northern California. But what they should do, and again, the ballpark is a very minor league ballpark. It is an older ballpark. They have tried a lot. They got a brand new field. I mean, every day there is a game there because the AAA team for the Giants is still there. So it's going to take some wear and tear, but the ballpark is a little bit older. They've taken care of the players, like they redid the clubhouses, everything, but it's a minor league ballpark.
Yeah.
I mean, the ball is going to fly out of there. Again, it was windy last night, and it was a launching pad. Fortunately for the Cubs, they scored 18 of those runs, as you mentioned. But here's the thing I would do with Sacramento. And I feel bad for Sacramento because how do you fully invest in a team that's not going to be there in 3 years and all they're going to talk about is going to Vegas?
Yeah.
So it's cool that you have Major League Baseball in your town, which is, I mean, Sacramento's a large market. Sacramento's a top 30 radio market. They already got an NBA team. But to go all in, they're going to leave in 3 years. So you're going to get invested in Brett Rooker and other guys and Butler, and then they're all of a sudden going to be gone. But what they should do is they should treat it like Japanese baseball. They should have a cross section of it is like going to a game in Japan or going to an SEC baseball game. It should be noise nonstop. It should be thunder sticks. It should be vuvuzelas. There should be horns. There should be all kinds of stuff going on. There should be chants. There should be drums. And if you've ever been to Oakland at the Coliseum, they used to have out in right field, they used to have a great section, and they just beat on drums the whole game, and they'd have a cheering section. That's what they should do in the small ballpark, is just make it a college atmosphere where there is noise nonstop, and all it is a party.
I totally agree, and you affect the game in a way when you're kind of that condensed, right? I mean, you have less people, but you're more on top of them, right? And so there is that echo, there is that feeling, there is the shaking of the ground, if you will, when it's a really, really big moment. At the same time, was it at the Nationals game, or maybe it was the Cardinals game I saw, that the fans were counting down the pitch clock. They were going 5,
it was the Reds-Giants game.
Yeah. That was awesome. Like, I feel like more fans should like be able to do that and like start doing it at the 9-second point too.
Well, I don't know why you don't do it in college. Like, I think we got to the Nebraska baseball fan can get there, but we need more of that. We need more of
rowdiness.
Yes, I mean, look at Texas A&M, by the way, might not even make the NCAA tournament. They're 1-8 in the conference.
This is what Nick Grimm tells me.
But to go there is an experience because the fans are into the game every single pitch. But I think in Sacramento, they should turn it into a college atmosphere.
Well, I think they'll get
go nuts.
More people as well. And I do think there's got to be a slight concern. Like, I know the capacity is really, really small, right? And I understand that
14,000?
Twice as much as it got in Oakland.
Compared to like what they have. Like, you have 40,000 person stadiums and 35,000 person stadiums.
You drew more in Sacramento than you drew for a normal game in Oakland.
I know.
So at least that's a step up.
Well, so I know that there is like there has to be some concern that, hey, you're going to get to the dog days of like June and July and you have a 14,000 person, minor league stadium for a major league team and you can't even consistently sell it out. Like,
I wouldn't blame them. I've been to Sacramento quite a bit in the summer.
It's warm.
It's hot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, it's the humidity. Mm-mm. No, it's 105 degrees and it feels like 105.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you where I was getting at is you have to do things and you have to make it an environment that you want to go to. You have to kind of make it a point you have to make it an event that it doesn't matter all about the baseball, that you want to go to that area for more than just to sit down in glaring heat and watch a very mediocre to bad Oakland A's team. Like, you have to add to the environment. You have to add to the ambiance. You have to add to the experience, because that would be so embarrassing if the A's go to Sacramento in a 14,000 person stadium and they can't sell it out. And then you're going to have people around the Major League Baseball being like, guys, we're going to Vegas. We're going to build you this really big stadium, a stadium that's going to have at least 2 to 3 times more people, and you can't even sell this place out.
Yeah, but the owners don't care.
Yeah.
If they cared, they would have forced a sale to keep them in Oakland and to find a way to build a stadium.
Yeah,
but they don't care because they're getting Vegas.
It's just
they take care of each other. It's a weird world in Major League Baseball. The owners look out for each other. They'll take care of each other because by the A's going to Vegas, the other owners benefit.
Oh,
that's how they look at it. All right. Coming up a little bit later, Brian Christopherson stops by. Also, Andy Kendi on this Tuesday, April 1st. Haven't seen as much stuff on the X.
It's quiet.
It's quiet without Bigalow,
but it's
early.
It's early. It's early for April Fools. Just remember, some people will lose their jobs today because they think it's funny. Like some people at a country radio station in Lincoln. Like, you know what? Hey, let's go and ask a bank about a robbery on April Fool's Day. Let's do that prank.
That is so bad.
That happened at Froggy 98.
That is crazy.
Cleared out a whole morning show. That's how they help the economy in Lincoln.
Damn.
They get the people off unemployment.
Crime
Yeah.
Town even has less crime. It even has fake crimes now. It's real crimes and fake crimes in Crime Town.
God, what do they call them? They weren't the green team. There was something else. It was like the stupidest thing. Yeah, they went to Union Bank and in Union Bank like a month earlier it had a robbery. And on April Fool's, this guy went in there and he's like, "Hey, let me interview some people about what it's like to be robbed." He goes, could we stage a robbery? Police showed up. They got rid of the morning show like immediately.
Who the hell thought it was a good idea?
I did, because then I was like, hey, could Forrest Jump be a morning show guy on Froggy Night?
I knew what you were getting at. He needs to watch Private Parts.
Gary and Matt with Jimmy at 1620 The Zone. Hey, congratulations to former Husker, a terror on the defensive line, Jared Crick. He is the new coach at his alma mater at Cozad. Somebody should really make a list of former Husker football players that have gone on in this state to coach.
Oh.
Either as a head coach or an assistant coach. I would love to see that list. There's quite a few here in the Omaha area.
You know a number.
But throughout the state, that would be that'd be a good project. Maybe we get Sam.
I think Brandon,
maybe the intern at the World Herald for the summer could work on that. That'd be fascinating.
I think it'd be a good Brandon Vogel story, and then maybe Brandon could go ahead and compare like the success of those programs with former Huskers compared to other programs who haven't hired former Huskers or stuff like that, and then maybe you get into the more like micro former player or former college player versus non-former college player or something like that. I've always been fascinated by the trajectory of like how far you going a player going in their playing career might relate to how far they go in their coaching career, right? In terms of like, is there any sort of like relationship between like you getting to the highest level and you being a really good coach? And like there are some, I mean, the range though is quite incredible because you have some former players who were absolutely incredible, like Mike Singletary, who were not great coaches. But then you have
most great players don't make great coaches.
Exactly. Well, and we've seen it a lot, and I think more so in basketball. But there definitely has been like a trend as of late in the NFL in terms of you're seeing more and more former players and former alumni of teams ended up. Oh yeah,
like Dan Campbell is a prime example.
Yes.
So I keep looking at that picture. Man, he is a unit.
You can't stop looking at him.
Dude, he keeps himself in shape. He is cock diesel.
He is.
All right, BC joins us in about 30 minutes. Nebraska won last night in the Crown. Oh, I tried to guilt Bigalow into bringing back the Twitter.
He said no?
He said someday. Last night in the Crown, Nebraska rallied to beat Arizona State. Bryce Williams had 30. Number 3 going to be tough to replace.
Yeah.
Going to be really tough to replace.
I am never going to get tired of watching that guy from the left wing make his way down to the free throw line, back toward the basket, pump fake, left foot turn around, nice little fadeaway. I will never get tired of watching that Bryce Williams shot. I mean, his mid-range game, man, it's so smooth.
In a sport where there aren't necessarily a lot of people that like shooting the mid-range.
Yeah.
But he's a dude.
He is.
So we get to watch him play one more time. I tweeted that last night, and people were like, what about Juwan Gary? Well, we get to watch Juwan Gary. But I enjoy watching Bryce Williams. But what I did not enjoy, and this has kind of been a common theme, and I haven't watched a ton of Arizona State basketball this year, and there's a reason why. Once again, Nebraska played a team last night in basketball where they looked gigantic compared to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, dudes that look like they should be playing for Dillingham instead of Hurley. The strength and conditioning and upgrading the physicality where you have somebody that can protect the rim or off the dribble, get to the rim with strength that looks like a dude instead of a scrapper. Well, that's got to be a transformation in the offseason because Arizona State, just almost across the board outside of Mason, every guy looked like they should be playing tight end or some other position on the football field compared to Nebraska's collection of the prodders.
I was watching Houston and Florida over the weekend, and I did have the intrusive thought of what would it look like if Nebraska played this team? Like, what if Nebraska went up against Houston or against the Gators? And my first immediate thought was, man, it would be so tough to grab a rebound. I mean, it would be, and it already is incredibly difficult for these high-level Final Four Elite Eight teams to grab rebounds against these guys. I mean, it would be an absolute battle, like on every single offensive and defensive possession on the boards. And I really don't know if Nebraska would win 25% of them. Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't put a number on it, but like the physicality you see of these teams, especially at the highest level, I mean, they look like they dwarf.
Yeah, they also look old.
And they are older.
Like if you look at Houston and Auburn, and Duke is a younger team with 5 key freshmen. Houston and Auburn look like they have guys that have 2.5 kids, a portfolio, and they live behind a white picket fence in the suburbs.
Half a kid, though.
Like,
Morbid.
seriously,
Yeah.
Houston's roster always looks old.
He looks so
Like
big.
guys that have been a little haggard. They've gone through it. The streets haven't been kind to them.
Guy
They're
Lewis
playing
recruited
ball.
him.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? Screw the COVID year. I'm 28. I'm
Yeah.
going to play, and I'll sue the NCAA if you don't allow me to play. Like Auburn's roster, even their freshmen look like
Yeah.
old. Nebraska's old guys don't look old. Arizona State's older guys last night, they look like they have been through the weather. So in the whatever they're doing here in the portal of the guys they're pursuing, and Bryce Sanford, by the way, will not cure this. He'll walk in and he'll go, okay, you lived in a nice suburb in Des Moines. But Nebraska do need, not only with a point guard, like you can see, like a Sejan last night, and he kind of saved Nebraska in that second half.
Yeah.
A Sejan with a really good passing point guard, and you add Mast, and you have some guys that can space the floor. A Sejan could probably become more comfortable next year, but you need a point guard. But God, do they need a guy that can put the ball on the floor from the wing and get to the rim, and he's not going to get his shot blocked 85% of the time. They need to find some dudes that live in the lane, and they don't care if they got scratches up and down their body because they've been there before. It's just the physicality, just the makeup looks so much different when Nebraska, because you'll see that against Georgetown.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgetown will make Nebraska look like, what is this, mid-major against a Big East bully?
Another thing, though, too, is like we talk about these Final Four teams, right? Like they are all rooted in rebounding, physicality, and length. And you can make the argument that, and not even just make the argument, I would say that those are three things that Nebraska very much is lacking in, right? The top teams of the country that are competing, where you want to be in the NCAA tournament all pose those attributes. And it's funny, you go, the Nebraska's older guys don't look like older guys, and Auburn's young guys, they look like old guys. Nebraska's young guys look young too. Like that's another aspect of it as well. Like they're not getting these guys who you're like, holy crap, that dude's 18.
We got to work on that water in Ashland Greenwood.
I know. I mean, but at the same time, it's like I do agree with you that the wing is important, and you're definitely going to need someone who can put the ball on the deck. And you're losing a guy in Bryce Williams, who we saw it yesterday and we saw it throughout the season where, late in the shot clock, the offense isn't going well. You can hand it over to him and say, hey, go and get us a bucket. You need to find that guy. But I think just as important is you need to find bangers in the paint. You just need to find just big dudes, 6'10", 6'9", 6'8", who have verticality, who look rugged, who look big, who are physical, who can just jump and just, they might foul, they might make it tough on the other team, but that no basket will be easy, and they're going to be able to clean the boards. I think, yes, you need shooting. You need to get a guy like Bryce Sanford. You need to get a guy similar to the alpha that Bryce was, but the next iteration of guy you got to get in the portal, someone who's going to make it tough.
You're not buying the physicality of Counting Crow?
No, I'm not.
He spends a lot of time on the floor and not chasing the ball.
Who's Counting Crow?
Braxton Mia.
Yeah, he's
Adam Duritz. Haven't I told this before?
Yes. He looks like the lead. The lead singer. I still always remember your Doug McDermott to Bear Cape Button gel.
Hey, you want another step further? So I am not ready to count out the Turkish Nightmare because I think he can be a valuable asset for Nebraska next year. I'd be curious on his minute distribution. But if he works on his 3-point shot, I think he has a chance to be one of the better players on that roster next year. But he's got to become more consistent shooting the three, which, what does Doug do? If you want to look like Doug, play like Doug, you got to shoot the three better. That's all I'm asking.
Like Doug, like Mike to like Doug. Call Burke Turkish Doug.
If his 3-point shooting takes a jump next year, I think he can be a valuable asset in that offense that needs to get back to having more floor spacers that can shoot the ball.
I think Berke, with his athleticism and his size, needs to first focus on being able to dribble to the basket and just get to the basket at his own will.
Well, you can, with a good point guard, you can set people up.
Yes.
You can run offenses where off a curl or a drive and kick, you don't have to put the ball on the floor. You don't think, you just shoot.
I think part of the reason why I want Nebraska
That's what
to
they told me in 6th grade at the Catholic CYO.
They told me great passers make great shooters. because they didn't want us being selfish. So they're like, they convinced us that we'll be great shooters if
Magic
we pass the ball
Johnson.
better. Well, it didn't work for me
Norman
because I'm
Dale?
absolutely terrible at shooting, but I am a pretty good passer. Regardless of the fact, part of the reason I want Bryce Sanford is so we don't have to count on that. You don't have to be reliant on, man, Berkey's got to get a better shot. Because if you get Bryce Sanford, then you're going to, and you hope that the point guard you get too is able to shoot the ball from the 3-point line. So then essentially you have 3-point shooters, and then you have Rink Mask who spreads the floor. Then you don't have to worry about Berkey being able to shoot the 3. I'm worried about Berkey putting his shoulder into somebody's chest, making them, knocking the wind out of a guy, getting to the bucket and being able to make free throws, because that's where I think he can be a really good basketball player. And that's where I've always liked Bryce, because Bryce can shoot the 3, but he loves getting to the free throw line. He can get to it at his will, right? That's a guy that I think Berkey needs to form more into. Yes, would it be great for him to get a 3-point shot? Sure. But I think there are easier things for him to develop than that. But it would be a massive, there's no denying the fact that it would be a massive development if he could do that.
All right, when we come back, we could have been participating in a, thank you very much, in
I've known you a little bit.
in a media celebrity flag football game on the 26th of April, if somebody would have gotten their way in Lincoln.
That would have been awesome. That would have been awesome.
Especially
Some of the
yesterday.
ideas out here, I'm a fan of. Some of these ideas are funny. Some of these ideas are something.
One I don't think would have gone over very well, but the head coach wanted it. We'll get into that when we come back on Gary and Matt with Jimmy and 1620 The Zone. Is the tush push being voted on today? Or are they going to push it back?
I will look here. It was funny that Nick Sirianni quote talking about Steichen and Gannon being like, I made their careers off this damn play. They better vote to keep it around.
They also are discussing, and I think this will be passed, of course, the 18-game schedule, which college football should take a vested interest in, because 18 games, you probably have to have 2 bye weeks, and now the NFL is playing all over the world.
Until March.
Are they going to be on the front end or the back end? Because if it's on the front end, there goes that opening weekend of college football that they have to themselves.
Week 0, gone.
I mean, we already are talking about the college football calendar changing, spring more of an NFL style. Week 0 becomes the opening week. You know, I know some places are a little bit leery because school is not open yet, like starting in the first part of August. But if the NFL does something and they get a response and they make money, they're going to do it more. They're going to have 3 games on Christmas.
Woo. Yeah, that's
Netflix, Amazon. I mean, 24 million plus watched Pittsburgh and the Chiefs. The NBA, which would like to own Christmas. Where will the NBA put the final meeting between LeBron and Steph Curry next Christmas, so that they avoid the best NFL game?
11 a.m.
Yeah, I would think it'd be maybe the 1 o'clock. But that
you're playing on the West Coast, so you're looking at the 2:30 Central probably, or you're going to go into the prime time.
9:30.
You can't go into the prime time. You cannot go into the prime time.
Well, the NBA can wait and see because they'll know what game they're going against.
Cooper Flag and Wemby against.
I think it's just going to have to be game dependent. Like I think just straight up, it will be what matchup do we think that we can go up against best, and it's just going to be dependent on whether or not the NFL will invest really good teams into those slots. But
that's eating up the calendar.
That's another thing too. So you say 24 million, the best NBA game that went on that day, that popped a 7 million rating. I mean, I'm honestly surprised, like, that the NFL kind of waited as long as they did, to go ahead and just take Christmas. I mean, they've done it. I mean, they've completely taken over it.
It has to fall on the right day. I mean,
sure. But another
day
thing
of the week.
Another thing too that I think is an interesting little twist to this
Andy Reid
is that it's on the streaming networks, and so if it was on regular cable TV or if you had YouTube TV, you still could do the dual box. You still could split. Hey, here's an NFL game and here's the NBA game, or you still could switch between the channels if you wanted to. The fact that they are on these streaming networks, I mean, it's actually kind of a smart play from the NFL where you can't switch from anything. Like, you are stuck on this broadcast, and that much like they did last holidays with the halftime shows, they're going to make sure that they do everything to keep you glued to the screen, regardless if it's playing or not. If the game's
they're not competing against themselves.
Yeah.
They don't have multiple games. So it's one standalone game to the next standalone game to the next standalone game. They own Thanksgiving. But if they're going to go to 18 games, are they going to swallow up? Are they going to swallow up Labor Day weekend, which has been a great weekend for college football because they have the whole stage to themselves. And then week 0 actually becomes the beginning of the college football season. I mean, the 18 games are going to get passed because there's too much money out there. It's just how they will structure it for the NFL, where you're going to get a couple of bye weeks. But they're not adding a regular season weekend in the middle of January. Well, they're going to add September because they're going to whack off a preseason game.
And on top of that too, it's such a damn shame for 2 reasons. First off, I feel like over the last couple of years, there are things that make college football unique, right? That make it different to the NFL. And now every year it seems like, and not just every year, every month or every week, it just seems like you're getting closer to not making yourself any different toward the NFL. And then on top of that, the NFL comes and takes, like, that was a special part of college football, in my opinion. The fact that it did start before the NFL, that you did kind of, even if you were not a big college football fan, you liked the NFL more, you still got that taste of competitive football that you sat down and you watched because you just want to see football being played, which is why week 1 was a big deal. Now they're not going to have that. And on top of that too, like, week 1 this year I think is it week 2 that is like the really, really good week where Notre Dame plays Miami? Or is it
opening
week 1?
Opening week this year is fantastic for college football.
I mean, it's just, It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame that, in my opinion, that the NFL, and they're doing what is best for them, and you can't blame them, and they're making the most money, and they operate independently of college football, and they don't owe college football anything in the regard of like, we have to respect your boundaries or anything like that. But I liked how it seemed like the two games were separated in a way, and the two seasons were separated in a way, and now we just keep getting closer to it's just NFL light, and I'm not a fan of that. But it's the reality we live in now. And
but you know what? They have you.
They do.
You're gonna watch, and you can have your opinion and whine and be like, "Oh, this is ruining the college game."
No, you're right.
And you know what? You're gonna watch both.
Yeah.
The NFL, you win.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. I can't wait till we go to Saudi Arabia for a regular season game.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
I can't wait because I'm sensing there's a lot of people that have countdowns in their businesses that except for where Jacob Bigalow works, about the spring games coming up on April 26th. It is spring football. We will digest it. I don't know how many fans will be there, but this was thank God for the Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
Because CBS heard about the ideas that were thrown around in February, what Nebraska was going to do with their spring game, and they got a hold of the list and they published it yesterday. You can see the whole list at cbssports.com. But these are some of the more interesting ideas that were thrown out there. A sand volleyball game, Huskers versus football alumni. John Cook would do a roping exhibition.
I'm a fan of that. That'd be awesome.
BMX bike exhibition.
That would have been really cool.
The Bud Light Daredevils.
But that would have been a pain in the butt to really was it dirt or it would be, you would have to set up you would have to set up a whole stage, be a lot of money, be some probably waivers in that. It would be a lot to do a BMX, but it would have been sick.
Tours of the Osborne Legacy Complex, which is happening, but it's going to cost you $50. Sorority tug of war, Jimmy.
That one I looked at immediately, and I'm like, I find it so funny.
Matt's always looking for new friends.
Fraternity. It's just specifically sorority tug of war.
Fastest student on campus.
So is that would have been like a recruiting tool, right? If a guy came out and ran, based on how this,
you seen Willie Mays Hayes?
I'm just saying, just based on how this football department has recruited, it's all about the measurables. If a guy came out and ran out a 4.23, you don't think they put him in pants?
If you're the guy that got bumped from the 105 for some student who came out of the stands.
Get him a uniform.
And in socks and shoes ran faster than you.
That'd be so tough.
Fans are free to come down and cut out a section of the turf.
Ooh.
I think that's when they thought they'd be going to grass, so they'd be getting rid of the turf.
Next year.
Barbecue competition.
Hell yeah.
Go-kart races.
Man.
The last two were kind of interesting. Now, rule like the roping exhibition, the sorority tug of war, the barbecue competition, and then the last two, which would definitely elicit a response from the Husker fan. Bo Pelini being welcomed back, coupled with a plush cat giveaway.
It's great. Get the Humane Society to sponsor it.
Now, I don't sense there's a clamoring to bring Bo back.
Neither do
and I don't know that Bo would want to come back. And then we'd have to remind you what Bo said on his way out. Now, the guys that played for Bo would love to have him back. The guy that he was most upset with is not here anymore. But I don't know. I think Bo that would not be something that would interest him. Now, the other one that was brought up, People, the thing about Nebraska football fans, they love politics.
Yeah.
They love when their politics and their football come together. And in a state that loves them some Republicans, but in a city that doesn't necessarily love them some Republicans. So, y'all Omahans, you might not agree with this. They wanted to invite President Trump to the event.
Why not? Why not? He's the president of the United States.
Now, what would he have done? Would he have been involved in some of these things, or would he have just made an appearance?
Judging the barbecue competition.
I don't know what he would have
That'd be a motley crew.
Wouldn't you have to have had an event? You would have had to put on a big event worth him going to, right? So
what if you used, because there's a ton of support for President Trump in this state.
Yeah.
What if you used it for an NIL? You let him take a little bit. You get a little bit. You get your picture taken.
Get a cabinet position.
You get your picture taken with the head coach and the president, and it goes to NIL.
And Elon Musk.
I also don't think I think President Trump, since he has been the president, has only been to Nebraska once, and that was his rally for the 2020 election at Epley Airfield. I don't think he's been back in the state. And it's not like he has to come here and campaign. This is very much a Republican state.
He won already.
But would he be on the field in a kicking competition? Would he be on a would he be
a part of the sorority tug of war?
Judging?
Not going to touch that. Would he be involved in like a chipping and putting contest?
Oh, that'd be great. You think he'd be a part of the BMX exhibition? Get him on a bike, have him do some twirls, do some flips. I don't know if anybody can do it.
He's on the old side.
He's been involved in a garbage truck competition.
I think that is the one thing. I actually do think that if they were to put on a big enough event, that like you would have to put. That's the thing. You have to put on a big enough event for Donald Trump to be like, all right, I'm actually going to go to Nebraska. Shake hands, kiss babies, wave at people for about an hour, and then I'll get out of there. But here's what I love about this list.
Not even
First
go
off,
down to the rail yard?
I love the aggressiveness of this list. I love that there are some like very simple, basic ideas that the family would love, right? Hey, let's have a barbecue competition, And then you have the other just very aggressive, like, let's have a demolition derby or let's do a BMX competition.
Disco demolition.
And then I also love the change in pace where it goes from bring Bo back. And then it goes pancake feed on the concourse. Then it goes to, hey, let's bring the end with the script Huskers for this game. And then it immediately goes to America. Bring in a field-sized flag and a live eagle. Invite the president. Involve the National Guard and the military. This is a great contrast of like, yeah, let's like have pancakes on the field, and then all the way to no, let's have the most patriotic event.
Have the waffle guy come up.
Us,
He's popular.
Us Nebraskans like pancake feeds. That would be
Delicious.
If you had to power rank all of these ideas, which I think they're great ideas, and I'd love to be in the room when you're just spitfiring. The pancake feed would be very popular.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could get a plush cat toy and a pancake at a Nebraska spring game
and meet the president.
Give away a real cat. Even.
Sign me up. I mean,
do a big fish fry. That should have been that would have been a big event. You do a fish fry at the spring game, just all across
on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's still a fish fry.
Yeah, but if there's
I know it's Friday. I know it's on a Friday, but still, that's a good point. I guess it does have to be.
Just go with the barbecue. Everybody loves barbecue.
I understand. The barbecue competition would have been
slaughter
absolutely
a pig
insane.
right there.
That would have drawn a lot.
I think there should be competitions against athletes. Like you want to wrestle, Antrell Taylor. You want to dig a spike from Harper Murray.
Narps versus athletes. That would be incredible.
You want to take a hit from Winery. I mean, it would be.
You want to get rocked by Marquise Watson Trent,
but make sure you pay your $50 and it goes to that athlete.
And we'll take a picture of you while we're doing it. Oh, that'd be $15 probably.
All right, Brian Christopherson joins us next on 1620 The Zone. Quick update from the Nebraska bookstore. They'll be opening here shortly. They will have Crown T-shirts previewing the Nebraska-Georgetown matchup. You guys think I'm kidding? No, they will. So
I believe
what's-
you.
I got an email here. It says, beginning when Nebraska bookstore opens up at 9 o'clock, there will be special quarterfinal Crown shirts, Nebraska and Georgetown. It's got a really cool logo on it. It's got Herbie and the Hoya. And it's got, like, in the background, you can see, like, it's got, like, a faded picture of Lou, and I believe it's David Wingate. And then front and center is
Spurs,
Bryce
great.
Williams and Malik Mack. So get those. Nebraska bookstore open now. Get your Nebraska-Georgetown Crown
John
T-shirts.
Thompson against Danny Nee.
Take my money.
Yeah. We welcome in Brian Christopherson. Good morning.
Good morning. That would be a great shirt, actually. Like, you know how to own like 10 years from now, you know how like you're sometimes if you're perusing social media or something, they'll put up like it's very popular with shirts of like the 1980s now to have them back in style. And I think that would make you pretty sweet to rock that.
Oh, it looks cool. You can either get it in gray or red. I mean, good on the Nebraska bookstore going all in on the Crown T-shirts. Let's go all in on some elements of last night. They look like a team that hadn't played in 3 weeks, so that first half was a little bit rocky. But Bryce Williams, Asijan, and Jacobson all were great in the second half, and Juwan Gary as well. But Matt and I were talking about, and this isn't anything new, Nebraska's going to miss number 3. The fact that he is scratching his name into record books in his brief time in Nebraska shows you everything to know about Bryce Williams. But what do you think will be the number one thing when we flip to next year and 3 isn't playing? He's not getting paid in Lincoln. He's getting paid somewhere else. That Nebraska will miss the most about the absence of Bryce Williams.
I think he has that mid-range jumper, which is so hard to find anymore. I think it's coming back a little bit, but not many can hit it at the clip he does. And that's like my favorite part about Bryce Williams in this era of where it at times has felt 3-pointer dunk or, you know, one or the other. He's able to hit that 15 to 18 footer and you expect it to go in. And so there's those moments when he's taking a shot, which the defense wants to force the opponent into because they've been taught like, make the opposition take a 17-foot 2-pointer because the percentage favors the defense. He makes them pay for it. And he's able to just find his way to the shot that he feels comfortable with and cash him in at a clip that is very impressive for that part of the floor. So, you know, that's not easy to replace. So and he just has a smoothness to his game too. I think he has a calmness that comes over the offense sometimes when it's really in disarray. So all that's going to be missed. I mean, when you see him pass Eric Piakowski on a single season list, I mean, that jumps out at you. So it's just a heck of a season. And he's a great guy. Like he's a mild mannered, but he just, I think he's really appreciated Nebraska like Nebraska's appreciated him. And so it's tough when you say goodbye to those guys, but the show goes on. And I thought last night it was good that Asijan, a guy who is coming back, you know, got it going in the second half. And I feel like if he could have a few days or a week in Vegas where he piles together some games like that, people can say what they want about the tournament, but that's good for his confidence and a nice little launch into next year where he's going to have to be more of a leader.
Gary and I were talking about it yesterday in regards to the Crown that, you know, it's disappointing that you can't have a guy like Frager or Janikowski, you know, come out on the floor, take off their red shirts and see them develop. And, you know, Gary made a great comparison, kind of likened it to a mediocre kind of mid bowl game, right? Where there's some guys that are there's some guys that aren't there. But unfortunately for Nebraska, you don't get to see new guys develop. But yesterday, that wasn't the case. We saw Kale Jacobson, who had a really, really good game. Fred Hoiberg, you know, after the game called him, you know, the MVP of the game. This is kind of where you get into the Kool-Aid drinking a little bit, but after what you saw yesterday and what we've seen kind of throughout the season with Jacobson at spot minutes and what we've heard about him in practice, do you think that Kale Jacobson yesterday kind of proved and showed that next season he could be a legitimate asset on this team and be a key contributor in Big Ten play?
I think Fred has always thought he could be, he's right on the fringe of the rotation, or he could be someone that helps. And, last night was a little bit of confirmation in that. Obviously, we'll see how the roster fills out. And, your goal is to stack a roster where actually it makes it tough for someone like Kale, if we're honest about it. But I thought last night was a great, punctuation to a lot of hard work for him, because he is one of the most valued guys behind the scenes from stuff Fred has said.
Mm-hmm.
And he really is an interesting player in the fact that he can, in a jam, play 1 through 5 for you. And that's what makes him such a valued asset to me. And let's be honest, the point guard play and, wasn't up to snuff. And Aaron Eulis got some minutes early. It didn't look great. And so I thought Kale, with that combination on the floor, he brought some hustle. He played with confidence. He took some chances, actually. And for the most part, they succeeded, where he had some clever passes on the break. One to Gary that was especially sweet, that was a dunk. And I just loved how he played like I belong out here. And so that has to do something for him. And to your question, let's see now. Maybe he can come out and give him some good minutes against Georgetown now in a different kind of game. We'll see. But no question, this tournament, if you can get in it and play, it's a big deal for those guys to showcase what they're about, for their future, whatever that may be. And I'm with you. The stupidest thing of all is that we can't watch guys like Frager and Janowski play in this week. They need to change that. That would bring a lot to the event.
Hey, let's shift to football, but I want to ask you about recruiting, because kind of quietly yesterday, and not quite, because Nebraska in recruiting, even though the recruits in the class of 26 are not just racking up hand over fist, Trey Taylor, who's a quarterback in the 27 class, one of the top quarterbacks in the country from Chicago, just was in town this past weekend, had a great visit. And Nebraska might be in a really good spot for their 27 quarterback. But in the 26 class yesterday, I think people need to pay more attention to what happened. Titan Davis, who is one of the top defensive linemen in the class of 26, is from St. Louis, a hotbed that Nebraska so desperately wants to get a pipeline going from there. They get him. He's been on campus. They are familiar with him. He's familiar with Nebraska. He's got a new defensive line coach that is recruiting him, who I think may turn out to be a pretty good recruiter in Terry Braden. But now he's made an official visit. Titan Davis is going to be here in June, but Nebraska's up against Alabama and Michigan. You know the drill, BC. This guy gives off the impression, and I don't know if you guys have talked to him at 24/7, he gives off the impression that the interest is real, but how does Nebraska win a battle for a big defensive lineman against defensive line schools?
I think you sell yourself on the idea like, hey, rules teams have a track record of developing D linemen too. And, Terry Braden is a guy who just came from the NFL, was on a part of an operation that was playing for championships, won championships. And I think, we saw Terry Braden up at the podium. He's got a lot of enthusiasm and sort of, a way about him that I think is going to be very appealing to recruits. And Nebraska's got a nice combination of guys, working in that St. Louis area too. Like Keith Williams knows everybody sort of in that region, so he can help you out. EJ Barthel's been down there more. So I'm glad you brought it up though, Gary, because honestly, like I know they're kind of in that mode. Like, why do I pay attention to recruiting? Because it's all about the portal now. Well, let's see how this all settles down. I still think you've got to win these type of battles when you can. And if you can find value monetary wise for him on your roster and develop a player like that over the next few years, it's a huge deal. I mean, he's a 4-star. He's from St. Louis. He's a defensive lineman. Put those three things together. That's a really nice combination.
John Butler's going to talk today in front of the media. I know you'll be there. And kind of the buzzwords that we've heard when it comes to his defense is third down defense and red zone defense. I know it's been a while, and these games happen feels like ages ago. But in terms of both of those aspects, do you kind of remember any glaring patterns in terms of what the defenses was doing on those third downs and in those red zone areas? And is there, because we've heard we got to fix this, but we haven't really heard specifically what they're going to do. Just kind of you remembering back those games, are there any patterns or things that they could easily clean up and fix when it comes to that aspect of defense?
It's a great question, Matt, because it's not easy for me to remember how it was way faulty in any way.
Sure.
Like, I mean, maybe you've thought about that too in asking the question, but like, I know the UCLA game, for instance, was rough in the first half. But was there anything specific scheme wise in that game, or what would they tweak? I don't know exactly, because some of that, I heard Sam earlier, Jeremiah Charles was out there getting like one of his first starts, and they kind of picked on him on 2 or 3 plays. And that sort of set the tone for how that half went. And so we always bring that game up as one example, but there was kind of a specific storyline of why that happened the way it did. So I'm as curious as you, like, what does that mean? And I don't know how much they can unveil, especially here in the spring. And that's where it gets difficult about what does like being more advanced or evolved on those particular downs mean to you. But the bottom line is it's a real thing over there, because Phil Snow's talked about it. John Butler's talked about it. Rule's talked about it. They're all like really invested in, like, we've got to make this third down defense go up like a few percentage points, and red zone touchdown defense. They had some great moments there last year, against Rutgers when there was a block punt, against Boston College. But there was also like Indiana, where right away on the first drive, the Hoosiers convert a 4th down, and I think they were like 6 of 6 or something in touchdowns in the red zone. So I'm sure they're looking back at like games like that against the top level team that was in the playoffs and saying, okay, what were the dynamics here involved that made us so vulnerable in that game, besides maybe putting our heads down after the score got away from us?
Hey, I know last week at the open availability, I think you spent a lot of time down where the offensive linemen were. Did you see the quarterbacks that were not named Dylan Raiola at all?
A little bit. I mean,
how's that look? How, and in just your brief observation, because I'm going to be a little bit of a nerd here. Nebraska got really lucky that Dylan was able to start all 13 games. We know that Nebraska, with the football god karma, doesn't do well. So I'm taking more of a vested interest in that battle behind him. Any brief observations on 3 guys that are here that we really have never seen play quarterback?
The observations on my quick glance, and then Schaefer was taking more photos of him for us, and he said, yeah, it was a little spotty, like in the segment we got with the throws and stuff. But I'm careful about saying stuff like that, because like 10 to 15 minutes, and they're throwing against routes like on some of those DB wide receiver one-on-ones that are highly contested and supposed to be that way. So it's not always favorable to the quarterback. I couldn't say from what we saw that you could say, oh, this guy definitely, he had this one throw that was a laser or anything. I know Marcos made one really good one that was hauled in for a touchdown. But he's the guy I'm probably most curious about. I think you kind of know that you're going to get a stable like guy who knows things in and out in like Gramstad, who's going to be Raiola's BFF and just a guy that he can connect ideas with on the sideline. And I think that's very valuable. But it is going to be an interesting story, like by the end of spring, if they're willing to say, or early in camp, has Marcos, I think in particular, I'll name him, made a move and understands enough of the offense to challenge for that second job. But as Holgorsen said at the press conference, he said it's going to take him a long time, and he said it might take him a year. So I don't know. Gramstad, until proven otherwise, is that second guy, I think.
depth is everything, especially in college football and just football in general with all the injuries that happen. You have to have guys that are ready to step up and fill those roles. And I want to ask you, if you had to pick between the running backs having a big increase in depth or the offensive line having a big increase in depth, what would you pick?
I'd pick the running backs because I still remember really well Rule's first year when he came in that Monday, like in September, and like two guys were injured and they were suddenly down to like their fourth guy. And I just feel like that's a position where you're going to need three or four that can help you at some point in the year. Obviously, if Emmett's durable and is RB1, and I think there's a lot of excitement, as there should be, with what those guys can do in the pass game. I like that they're talking not just about, I don't want to be, Emmett in particular, I don't want to just be a running back. I want to be a weapon. They see what that can be in Holgerson's offense, where Emmett caught, 23 passes the last 4 games. But to your question, I'd love to see, 3-4 guys that, like it's October and someone's dinged up for a series and you feel like, yeah, this guy can still make plays for you. And whether it's they're just trying to instill confidence in those guys or there's a real belief, this coaching staff has really knocked home the idea. They think they've got the guys in the room. If you want a wild card, and it is a wild card at this moment, Kenneth Williams, I think, is an interesting guy over there. And I'm really
Lincoln
curious.
High, baby.
Yeah, well, I'd say him just as an example. I think Holgerson's the type of guy who he's not going to give a fig about this guy came in with this background or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that sort of at tight end last year, right? Remember the game where Fedoni didn't play much and you're realizing, they're playing Lindenmeyer and Borkershire. He's going to go with what looks right to his eye at this moment. And I think we're going to see that in a case or two. And so I wouldn't run too far with a Kenneth Williams hype train or anything. I'm just saying a guy like that, I could see in this offense, if he has the traits that fit really well, don't be shocked if someone pops up that we're not really talking about as much.
Hey, let me circle back to something I know you paid attention to because you were tweeting about it and you were sitting right there in the corner, and that's offensive line play. I asked Vers last week because he played with 2 offensive line coaches that were fantastic in Milt Tenneper and Dan Young. And if anybody saw practice open last week, there were coaches everywhere because there can be. How does the dynamic work? Because we know Donovan Raiola's skill set. One guy who the Nebraska, I think, is very fortunate that nobody has plucked him off their staff is Aaron Coling, who has worked with Donnie for a while. Now you've got Keith Williams working with the offensive linemen. How is all of that dynamic of 3 really big brain coaches working together with the amount of offensive linemen that Nebraska has?
I think it's really useful because in the segment we saw, Keith Williams is over there with Elijah Pritchett one-on-one, and you can tell it's a deep dive into the details. They're going very slow over the footwork and hand placement and things like that. And then you've got Donnie over 15 yards away, and he's got Grant Bricks and Brock Knutson. And so I think the individual teaching on field that guys can get is way more than it used to be when I first started covering this. So I don't know why it took so long, because there's always been more staffers. There's more staffers around probably than there used to be, but there's always been extra guys around and they just weren't allowed to do stuff. And so I just think in an era where we want to benefit the players, we want the best for them, I'm glad that they actually have this opportunity where there is more coaching that they can get on an individual level, and they need it, because as you heard Holgerson last week, he got a kick out of it. He's like, I had 17 O-linemen running inside zone plays, and we did it 24 times. He said, I've never even had 17 O-linemen in the fall, and if you look at the numbers, there's guys out. They have 23 linemen on the roster right now, and so you do need 3 or 4 coaches to even give guys to whet their appetite a little bit with what they're learning during a practice. So it's necessary.
So, you have coaches who were on this staff last year who are coaching elsewhere, but you have guys on this team who were recruited by those guys and handpicked by those guys. And those coaches, still were very, from a football perspective, held in very high regard, in terms of their ability to evaluate talent and recruit talent. And even though they're gone now, do you still think with Matt Rule and the fact that, he trusted those guys so much, could develop those guys and pick those guys, and this is more specifically in the defensive backs room, do you think when it comes down to cutting and picking and choosing who's staying and who's going, the fact that there are coaches, despite the fact there are no longer on the staff, that Matt Rule trusts that pick these prospects, do you think that might be a factor when it comes to cutting down to the 105?
I think a couple years ago, it's like Evan Cooper liked a guy and he showed Matt Rule, this is why we like this guy. I think Matt Rule had such a relationship with him that it's like, I see it. Yeah. And so I think he has I don't know. I just feel like he would have a similar mindset toward the players that were brought in as the position coach who maybe made the first contact by the end of it. Like,
sure.
Like Braylon Prude or somebody like that, who was like on a travel roster last year. So I don't think he's like in danger, but like, a guy like that, I think everybody was nodding their heads to after looking at him up close a time or two. And so I think that's where this staff feels like they can excel, is that they're going to have a lot of very up close observations on guys with multiple coaches, including the head man, before they go in on a guy. And so I don't think that's going to be a factor, that coach is gone. But it is going to be fascinating to see how that plays out, because, I mean, geez, there's 28 guys. I know the Amari Sanders pops up in a clip, so everybody's excited about him for fair reason. And you go through like Mario Buford, like Rex Guthrie was getting mentioned last fall by Tony White. Like, there's like 12 guys that got mentioned last year, Caleb Benning, Donovan Jones. It's just going to be really intriguing, like how you sort that out. And it's why I enjoy the off season. I know some people think it's hype. Whenever we write a,
excuse me.
What's that?
Sorry,
He had a cough.
Yeah. Whenever we write about a guy, I'm not projecting that he's going to go shut down Michigan or anything. I just think these are really interesting storylines. Like, is this guy progressing where he can get in the two deep? And so those are the stories of spring to me. And I think sometimes I'll defend like the media a little bit here. I think sometimes those stories get perceived as like we're hyping up a player that he's going to go do this or that in the fall, when really it's just about the chase within that position room to try to play. And I think that's an interesting part of the offseason.
Definitely the defensive backs this year. BC, as always, appreciate it. We'll see you later this morning.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
See you, Brian.
Brian Christopherson. He is on team not Jacob Bigalow.
I
Very
mean,
calm, collected.
I do think that Bigalow has like
Nice
a
interview.
leg to stand on in
two of
some
them.
regards. Like
Some would say 3.
There is an argument to be made that some of this stuff does get blown out of proportion, but to do say like it just absolutely doesn't matter is kind of ridiculous. I mean, this stuff to a degree does matter, and especially from a younger guy perspective, there are plenty of observations that were made for certain dudes during open practices or whatnot, or if coaches talked about them, that did actually end up coming to fruition, and that player did play a factor in the fall. So there is, does some of it get blown out of proportion from time to time? Absolutely. Is it absolutely? Is it a clown show that doesn't have a leg to stand on? Absolutely not. That's my official statement on the matter.
We'll see if
I enjoyed radio.
We'll see if Jacob can come back from down 15 at Carver Hawkeye Arena,
or down
That's
11 at the MGM Grand Arena. Maybe he can have a Connor Essegian moment next
That's not a
Monday at
lot.
9 a.m. and see the ball go through the hoop and get going again.
Speaking of Connor Essegian, John asked me, I wonder if we'll see John later today at Warner Park. He said, so you're saying Sam and Connor don't look old? Connor Essegian looks like the guy that delivers your paper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He's got the rosy red cheeks.
Nice young man.
He's like a guy that, you know what? He's the guy that you want your daughter to date because he delivers the newspaper to your house in the morning. And then Sam looks like the guy that is just everybody's friend in the hallways of high school. He's
Yeah.
got that look. He's got that good,
Very
hearty,
relatable
Midwestern look.
Yeah.
Gets
Yeah.
loudest
Yeah.
ovations
Very
at
nice.
graduation.
Good smile. Yeah, I know.
They
All
think he's
checks
a
out.
righteous
Connor
dude.
Seaton's the type of guy where your daughter's going to prom and you're about to meet him and you open up the door and you're like, oh, look at this. This is nice. Very nice to meet you.
Andy Kendi, he's a nice guy to meet. You may be of elk to date his daughters.
Matt?
Nope, I'm good. Don't mix work and play.
It's lots to learn.
Yeah, I lost that too.
Yeah.
He'll join us here in about 15 minutes on 1620 The Zone. All right, weather in the area. Hey, another email from the Nebraska bookstore. The T-shirts are going over really well.
It's great.
Like they made them overnight, just trying to
print
jump
them out
onto the Crown bandwagon.
Get them out
Matt,
as quick as possible because
you're
everybody's
headed
so riveted with what occurred yesterday.
You better stop by the bookstore.
I might stop by the bookstore. Yeah,
Jerry
get my shirts.
Jerry says, if you could help me out, I'll hook you up. 1999 Georgetown, Nebraska quarterfinal Crown shirts. If Nebraska wins on Wednesday, we will do semifinal shirts. You may think that this is funny, but we have actually gotten a great response. Since we've been open, we have sold 10 T-shirts.
Wow.
They've been open for 30 minutes.
Wow.
So go
All
to
the
the
same
Nebraska bookstore in Lincoln to get your Crown quarterfinal T-shirts between Nebraska and Georgetown.
Hurry, go now, run all the lights.
A Crown quarter zip I could buy? That might be the
Peter Millar.
That might be the crowning jewel of my collection. A Crown quarter zip with that. Hopefully the logo is a little bit smaller than what it was on the court yesterday. It's funny. You took like a logo. He shot it from the logo. It's like an 18-foot shot.
Yeah, true.
It's like a mid-range.
I will ask my guy at the Nebraska bookstore, but if you'd like to get a Nebraska Georgetown T-shirt, they are selling them at the Nebraska bookstore. He said they have 3 different sizes, guaranteed not to shrink.
Wow.
Hey, that's a hell of a deal.
I don't know how many times you'd wear it, but you can get ready for the game tomorrow night.
Cotton or polyester?
Do not know. He said it won't shrink.
Okay. Might be polyester.
So there will be some shrinkage with the weather. It has shrunk the 6 o'clock first pitch at Haymarket Park to 2:30. John and Connor have the call over at on 1180. So both of them are bailing on their shows today, I think.
Wow.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, Bigalow bailed on Connor, so why shouldn't Connor just bail on his whole show?
Is Bigalow co-hosting USC today?
I mean, if you don't have Bigalow on your show, what the hell you talk about?
I know. Okay. I mean, there's no content anymore. I mean, clearly, Jacob Bigalow talked about how there needs to be more of an emphasis on basketball, and unfortunately, we've taken the emphasis off of basketball and we put it on Bigalow. So if anyone's really sucking the media attention away from this basketball team, it's actually Jacob Bigalow. And not Husker football. So that's how the world comes around at you real quick.
It was an inside job the whole time?
Maybe he wanted to make it about him. Yeah. Always about Bigalow.
Yeah.
It's like LeBron. He's launching something.
So I don't know who's doing Connor's show because I don't think he's going to do it today. I think he's decided not to.
What if Bigalow comes in and does
Jacob
the whole
and
show?
Josh Watson? Yes.
Just four straight hours, Jacob Bigalow hosting the Connor Happer show. 0 football gets talked about.
Then he fills in with Josh in the biggest plot twist ever.
It's got to be, I mean, good on Connor for not doing his show today. For like just saying, no, I'm not going to do it because we got Creighton baseball at 2:30 because we're going to have to figure out how many pitchers are going to be used in the game between Nebraska and Creighton. Will we have
a lot of breaks?
Will we have 15 pitchers used combined today?
I'll say the under. I'll take the under. 15 is an aggressive number.
I'm going to take the over because I've worked on this show before.
Yeah. I mean, you do have a very good read for these things, but 15 is a lot. I mean, you're just picturing innings.
But Kuzma, who's pitching for Creighton, has been really good in the midweek.
Yeah.
So he was a weekend starter. They made him a midweek guy. I like him. He may not be a one and done guy. I mean, he might pitch 4 or 5. He might even pitch 6 innings, depending on how he throws. But disappointing that Connor's not doing his show after we are done. Not sure who's going to do the show. Maybe Hodson will come in here. And you know what? He'll have to uncancel Nebraska basketball.
Or maybe I do an 8-hour graveyard shift, Really put the pedal to the metal.
Did you say gravy?
Graveyard.
Oh, got me excited for gravy.
What would people want more? Us to talk spring football or to hear 8 hours of Matt?
We can't do another
it's a tough
poll.
decision. Probably spring football. I think Bigalow would be like, all right, get him off. I want to hear about spring football now. We get it. All right. That's my torture. No. Yeah, be a top. Have you ever done that? 8 straight hours of radio?
I've done 12 hours. I've done all 3 shows one time. And it was not because people were gone, because I wanted to do it. My whole goal one time in this building on one day is to be on every single radio station, at least for like a segment.
Yeah,
a segment or a stop set, something like that.
Yeah, you would be running around. I mean, there would only be probably a 2-hour window.
The maps have been on coil a lot. Does that count?
Well, I mean, also you have to be live. I mean, this is really the only
We're live.
station that is live from
Yeah.
6A to sometimes 8P,
That's the
depending on the
sports
sports schedule.
When you did your
Mhm.
12-hour shift, did you find yourself like talking about the same things over and over again a little bit to the point where it's like, oh, maybe the previous show, like
Maybe
there's a new audience,
maybe the
right?
first two shows. Like the afternoon show was just fun and frivolity.
Was that you and John
You're just
throwing
going-
it back?
You were just going crazy. You're
Yeah.
like, I've just been sitting in this chair talking in this microphone for way too long.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'll do it. I got nothing else to do. Just roll in. That was back when we were at 7.
Jeez.
So the morning show went 7 to 11, and then 11 to 2,
Oh.
and then 2 to 6.
I know. You get an extra hour. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it used to be a thing.
It was weird. Weird that
before
it was
me.
7 to 11. But I
7
mean,
to 11 is weird.
that was the original morning show was 7 to 11.
I've heard 7 to 10. 7 to 11, I haven't heard of.
I mean, the sponsors write themselves.
Yeah, I guess.
They do.
Thank you. Come
In
again.
a place that does not have a 7-Eleven.
Hmm.
All
Yeah,
right.
that is a good
So
point.
not sure who's doing the midday show, but if you're in Lincoln and you're going to the game, make sure that you stop by the bookstore and grab your quarterfinal crown
Can't wait.
T-shirts. And you know what? They'll have Boise State, Nebraska T-shirts. I'm told by the guys at Nebraska Bookstore.
I'm buying one. Do you want one?
Sure.
Okay.
Go there. Stop by there today and grab one.
Whole station.
I will.
Okay.
Get a whole station.
We all wear large.
We got to celebrate it. Our team is dancing in April.
Apparently, there's a lot of people talking about the T-shirts at the Nebraska Bookstore. It's an amazing experience. What one will do for you? Maybe we're just we're desperate around here.
Yeah.
For success. We'll talk to Andy Kendi coming up next on 1620 The Zone. More clarification on why Happer's not doing the midday show today. He's riding the pep bus down to Lincoln. It leaves during the middle of his show, so he wanted to be prepared.
Yeah. You got to get on the road. You got to get to your booth in time. All about preparation.
Hey, busy sports day. You get Nebraska and Creighton at 2:30. Again, the game will be on 1180 with John and Connor. You got Storm Chasers opening up tonight, and you got the day off from the Crown, and we've got Andy Kendi, sports director at KTV. Good morning.
Andy.
Good morning. Good morning. When do we get torpedo bats at the college level?
Ooh. That would be...
Do you move the metal into a different part of the bat? Yeah. Like how does that? It's welding, right? I mean, it's a different type of mechanical engineering, right? You go from wood carving, wood shaping to melding. I don't know. It's a great. I mean,
my guess is somebody's molding it right now.
Here's the thing.
And there's we were talking colleges. There's a lot of scientists on college campuses.
Science. That's good.
Okay, so let's see. The Crown was over by the time you hit the air last night. How much time did you devote to it?
Oh yeah.
Actually gave it 45 seconds of highlights and a soundbite. I don't know if you guys saw it, but if you stayed with the post game,
that was a mess.
And I thought it was an incredible, joyous mess. No question. So for the people who didn't stick around,
heard about that.
They give Connor Segan a headset, right? And it's so damn loud, and they don't have the audio worked out. And so he hears somebody talking to him, so he understands that somebody's asking him a question, has no idea what the question was. Rob Stone asked him a question from the studio, and Connor Segan says, I'm just going to go on instinct, and here's what I'm guessing you would ask. And he goes into the answer that really answered the question that Rob Stone asked. It was unbelievable television. It was one of those moments you literally laugh out loud because it was so funny. And in the moment, I mean, Connor Segan, I feel really good. Like you can mock the crowd all you want, and believe you me, I have done it. Well, I'm being honest. But for a kid like him to have a game like he had last night, I mean, that was pretty cool to see. After coming off a performance, he was 0 for 11 against Iowa in his last performance, had to sit on that and chew on that for 3 weeks or whatever, 22 days, and then go out and pretty much, carry the load in the second half and lead that team in a comeback. That's kind of cool for the 20 or 30 people in attendance.
I mean, you got to think that a lot of athletes could probably do that interview off of like the Sixth Sense. I mean, there's only like one of 5 questions that the panelists back at the studio are going to ask you, like, when did you know you had it? Or, how did you bounce back from a tough first half? Like, we could probably make a whole cliche list, right?
Sure. But to put the headset on and looking into the camera and having the poise and having the personality to do it, that's, easier said than done. And I'll tell you, the fact that the guys in studio, I thought the guys in studio kind of cut him off. It's like, no, let him go. This is great stuff. It was really fun if you get a chance to see that clip.
Hey, there was just kind of caught all of us off guard, but man, we read through the list of ideas that were thrown out for the retooled spring game yesterday. Thank you to the Freedom of Information Act. Is there you were here when he was the head coach? Is there a clamoring for Bo to come back to Nebraska?
I don't know. That was kind of weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then maybe I was just kind of like, I don't know. It's just my gut was like, it's kind of soon, and I don't know. Is anybody really pounding the drum? Not that it's not that people want them to stay away, but I don't know. Do we really need that at this point? Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, I thought I kind of leaned more towards the can we do something with the cat spring game anniversary, that type of thing.
Yes.
But yeah, that was a weird one, and that list was fascinating to see what was all being thrown on the table. And I know they had actually talked about the softball thing for a while. It's unfortunate that they couldn't figure that one out, because I think having a softball game at Memorial Stadium would be pretty cool.
How do you think you would have fared in a media celebrity flag football game?
Oh, terrible. I'm just recently off the IL, so I would probably be more of a player coach, maybe chairman of the board, but maybe short yardage red zone situations you could put me in for a little 3 yard down and out. I'd be good for that. Yeah, I could push off at the best of them for tight end.
Hey, who's the most popular athlete in Lincoln right now?
Probably Harper Murray, Dylan Raiola, Harper Murray.
I think Harper Murray.
Harper Murray.
I think, and I mean, as it's going to rub some people the wrong way, they're like, "Geez." The TikTok that was put out yesterday, and if you've looked at the numbers, I mean, they're through the roof. That was such a smart play by Matt Rule because it's a recruiting tool. He is attached to the brand of Harper Murray, which is definitely a major brand. He's recognizable as the football coach. Just to see recruits respond to that and current players, it actually kind of subtly was a genius move by Rule. I know that his daughters are huge volleyball fans and they spend time with the volleyball team and they do TikToks, but him aligning himself with Harper Murray, and oh, by the way, one of his tight ends is dating Harper Murray. I thought was a brilliant move by Rule yesterday.
Yeah, it was great. And I just checked 2.2 million views.
I mean, that's crazy.
Wow.
And that's just on Twitter or X or whatever. So it is pretty amazing. I just think it's funny that he was so adamant about he was so anti-TikTok just a couple weeks ago on McAfee's show, and then he comes out and does this. And technically, he's not in the locker room, so I think maybe he found a loophole there. But I actually thought, for a guy who's around my age group, I thought he had some pretty good moves, and props to him for putting himself out there. Doing a little ode to Michael Jackson. I saw it even with the hat flip. I thought that was pretty neat. So I didn't see the glove on it. You should have had a receiver glove on. That would have really made a nice addition to it. Maybe a little bling on the receiver glove. But no, I think you're right though. I mean, it was a smart move on his part, and Harper Murray is really a phenomenon, and just not only is she a world class volleyball player, but obviously. Social media star, and to be aligned with her, I think it's a brilliant move on his part, and I think it's legitimate. I think they were sincere. I think Matt Rule knows what his kids talk about at school, and I know what my kids talk about at school. And it's funny that my wife sent the TikTok to me at like 9:00 at night. It was already in the show, by the way, for the record. But somebody actually had to point it out to me. But then my two daughters sent it to me overnight, like, "Oh my gosh, have you seen this?" I was like, "Come on, guys, come on, who do you think I am?" So yeah, no, but it is pretty wild that TikTok is obviously it's a thing, and with Harper Murray doing what she's doing to get the views and to show that Matt Rule's in touch with the generation that he's coaching, I think that says a lot.
So. That's my next question to you. Like, we've seen on these behind the scene chasing three videos that Matt Rule can get very intense and very tough on players, right? But at the same time, he's been able to, show the capacity to blend in with the younger trends, right? And show that he's not what you would call maybe like a boomer, right? How important do you think that is in the environment of college sports today to balance that?
Oh, I think it's very important. And, to show the kids that he's in touch is one thing. And I do think to show the kids that he's tough and will coach you hard is another. I think that's very important. And I think that there's a certain class of kids these days who want to be coached hard, who want to be pushed. And it's not everybody wants to, just, do walkthroughs and have a Capri Sun walking off the field. I think some of these kids, and most of these kids that Matt Rule is looking for, want to be coached hard. And I think to balance that along with, hey, you know what? There's time to work hard. There's also time to play hard and have fun. And I think that little clip of 11, 12 seconds shows that he can strike the right balance.
Yeah.
She's got 77,000 views on her TikTok of that video. Hey, we'll get you at her on this. And this is kind of in your wheelhouse because I was looking at the top 20 jerseys in Major League Baseball yesterday. 6 of the 20 are Dodgers. As we know, it's not just Ohtani and Yamamoto and Sasaki who have got a following in Japan. It is the Dodgers. But Ohtani has the number 1 jersey. This is in your world because, of course, you and your brother are big card collectors. Is Ohtani's baseball cards as popular as his jersey is?
They are popular, and he just had a cards sell for over $1 million. So yeah, he is this this new generation's Mantle, I guess you could call it, or this generation's Trout, you could call it, because Trout obviously still has some panache in the collecting world, and if he has a bounce back year, that will even enhance his brand even more. But yeah, Ohtani is the guy. But looking to see what's happened in the last year, you don't normally get pitchers only that people go nuts for cards, but Paul Skeens' card has been really a hot commodity, and I think depending on what happens to him in the next couple of years, that could really blossom into it. Guys like Ellie De La Cruz, it's actually a pretty good time to be keeping tabs on this stuff, because you got Ellie De La Cruz, this new wave of people, but also you got guys like Aaron Judge, and by the way, don't forget about Aaron Judge, who is hitting homers at a record clip so far. It's actually a really cool deal when you're looking at what's new and exciting, but yet still have guys that still draw the attention of an Aaron Judge or a Mike Trout. And Bobby Witt Jr., because of his, proximity, I've been really close to following his stuff, and it's amazing to see his stuff kind of blossom here in the last year and a half, because we saw it coming, but I don't know nationally if they saw what kind of talent he is, but it's actually, it's fun to deal. Now, if you guys can figure out some pitching for the Milwaukee Brewers, that'd be great.
Nope, not helping.
World of hurt.
Not helping.
Yeah,
World of hurt.
47 runs in 4 games, and the velocity is down.
No doubt. I was talking to a buddy of mine who went to opening day. I said, where was the drunkometer? And he said, pinned to the right. I go, where is the he goes, where is the Dowdometer? I go, what was higher, the drunkometer or the Dowdometer? And he goes, it was pretty even. And for opening day, if anybody's been to opening day in Milwaukee, they know that's saying something.
I've seen that video of that dude.
They had some great tributes, by the way, to Bob Uecker yesterday. That was fantastic.
That was cool. Hey, if you guys haven't done the grid today, the Immaculate Grid, where's the time?
Okay.
You understand when you get there.
It's sitting in my inbox. I appreciate it, my friend. Have a great week.
All right, boys. Be good.
See you, Andy.
That is Andy Kendi. Now he's got me because the Immaculate Grid pops in.
I saw someone on Twitter post their grid. There's a lot of potential Husker flavor that you can throw in there today on the Immaculate Grid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
you can do a lot of Huskers if you have that Husker baseball knowledge, which you definitely do have.
All right. Sox, Phillies, A's today with the Yankees.
I could probably do that.
All right. What day is it?
It's April 2nd. It's a Tuesday. It's Spring Football Day. It's Media Availability Day.
Jimmy, what is the date today?
Oh, it's April 1st.
April 1st.
It's April Fool's Day.
Yeah. Do not go to the bookstore and be tuning in, because Connor Happer has arrived at the press box at Haymarket Park. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Crossovers coming up next. Don't forget Nebraska-Creighton baseball over on 1180. Storm Chasers open tonight at Werner Park. We got to play quick because there is storms on the way, but it's always cool. Opening day at Werner Park. We'll recap it all, and we'll have a preview of Nebraska-Georgetown in the Crown tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
And anti-Jacob Bigalow, we will talk football tomorrow because John Butler speaks today.
Yes, he does. Can't wait.
We'll do that. Crossovers coming up next. We'll see you tomorrow at 6.